Hi, everybody. It's Lori and Lawrence and Ronnie, the event skeptic. We're back for another episode of This Week in Flat Earth. Today, I am broadcasting live from Mount Meru up at the North Pole, top of the heart map. And here we are. It's pretty cold up here. And I have my pirate outfit on because I'm gonna forge ahead and go into some uncharted waters, and I'm gonna see if I can discover what is on the top side of the heart and what is on the furthest northern edge of Mount Meru. So Lawrence is also at another point on the ice ring. I'm not really sure where his pirate ship is, but he's also here broadcasting from a very cold spot. How are you doing, Lawrence?
Well, it's freezing here, Laurie, but I've just got my t-shirt on. I'm braving the elements. It's minus 38 degrees. It's quite warm as things go, and I'm heading for I'm looking for this new South Pole that Globebusters has come up with because, I'm interested to see what it is and what I can find there. So I'll keep you posted.
Okay. And Ronnie, where are we beaming you in from?
Hi, I've occulted the pyramid in the concave cellular Earth model live, low bandwidth, so my camera's not working. And my
Yep, you're already breaking up. Are you on the other side of the sun?
Yeah, I am. I'm actually directing the light to the sun, to the Earth right now, so I'm back.
Okay, awesome. I'm really glad to have you with us. So, okay, well, we've had sort of a busy week of shillery around here, but I wanted to clear up one thing real quick before we move into any other uncharted waters, and that is do a little screen share here, and let's see. I believe that Bob from Globebusters last week on their primer show was saying that Lori and Lawrence were on Eric Dubé's Shill Wall of Shame, which is on the Atlantean Conspiracy website, and I can verify that I am in fact on there. And if you scroll down here, way down here in the cheap seats, way past all these other people. Yep, there I am, Lori Frary, former politician, which is untrue. It was untrue when Dubé said it, and it's still untrue. I did run for public office. I ran for Evansville's mayor seat in 1995, a real long time ago. And I did that so that I could unseat a two-term incumbent whose father also was the mayor before that. I was handily defeated because my whole purpose in running was to cause as much trouble as I could for the guy who was holding the seat, but he won anyway because that's how politics go. So that's my whole little thing right here. One couple little paragraphs. The other thing that I'm a shill for on the Shill Wall of Shame, and I'm the only female, so I was actually kind of proud of that. But I'm accused of buying his website name because he wasn't smart enough to buy it. So yeah, I do own flatearthconspiracy.com. There it is. I still own it, and so that's me. And you can scan all the way down, and we ran out. And Lawrence Wright is not here on this list, so I don't know what list Bob Nodal was looking at, but Lawrence has never made the Shill Wall of Shame. Shame on you, Lawrence.
Oh, no, I didn't used to get on.
As we scroll around, we will find, though, that there is. Look at there, Jaron made the Shill Wall of Shame, and he starts right here, Jaronism, and he's got quite a few paragraphs. Looky. So maybe you all ought to go and check out all that Jaron is accused of for being a shill that Bob didn't manage to bring up on his last show. So there you go. A little clear that up a little bit. So how about that, Lawrence?
Excellent.
What do you got?
Well, I've got so much here. It's a question of where to start. So maybe I should start with. Let's keep it humorous because you know there is a funny side to all of this.
Well,
so
shilliness can be funny. So go ahead.
All right. So I'm just going to tick these off one by one as I do them. So let's have a look. I'm just going to screen share again. I'll get it right this time.
Drum roll. You're good.
Go ahead.
So let's have a listen. So I'm screen sharing. Okay. So listen carefully here now.
Okay.
So, here we go. Lawrence is screen share. Everybody get serious for a minute.
Globebusters Season 2, Episode 11, Top Flat Earth Proofs. And it's coming towards the end of the show. Bob's wrapping it all up. Let's see what he says next.
If you don't have that, you don't have Schuler tuning. It's not even part of the equation. End of story. So anyway, with that, I guess we're coming up on 3.5 hours. Antonio, if you have anything, I know you've got your debate coming up with John LeBon next week, and I think you've just taken a whole lot of the wind out of his sails with his nonstop argument of what about the spinning pole stars at the South Pole, which frankly I get sick of hearing, but it's going to be interesting to see his rebuttal to this, and if he tries to continue to use that in your debate against you. But other than that, you got anything else good going on we need to know about before we close out?
Well, I'll be making a video on the flat Earth map, which anybody can make themselves. If you take the square mileage of the continents, you'll find that the square mileage of Africa is just over 11 million square miles, and the square mileage of Eurasia, that's Europe and Asia combined, is just over 22 million square miles. That's twice the size of Africa. So take your A map, take any map, and just make the adjustment, make Eurasia twice the size of Africa, if we're going to use Africa as the rule of thumb. And then there you go, you've got the flat Earth map. Land surveyors aren't interested in globe or flat. They're just interested in square meters, square miles. So we can assume that they're pretty correct and exact, especially because property rights go along with the square mileage, and that's linked to law, and we know how exacting they can be. So just have a look for yourselves, but I will be creating a map. I won't be pulling a tiger down. I'll be using some things that can be verified. I'll then be demonstrating how this is verifiable also by the sun's journey. So I will do this before the JLB debate so that I can show it on the debate. But I thought that I would show, I was going to keep the star trail, star motions.
All right, so I've turned that off now. So, yeah, Antonio Subirats is coming up with a new map. This must be a different one, Laurie. Have you seen it yet?
Actually, no, I haven't seen anybody's map at all. I've seen pictures from other from websites and government sites, and I've seen some squiggly lines and some magnetic ley line maps and diagrams and all that, but I haven't seen any map. And every time I've seen somebody show something, well, this isn't exact and this isn't. But the one thing I haven't seen, Lawrence, is I haven't seen anyone from this arena over here who has apologized or said otherwise when they decided to get off of the AE map and the Gleason map, or even the circular maps at all. I haven't seen anybody back down. I haven't seen anybody say why they're not using them anymore. They just suddenly changed. And so,
I can cover that later. I'll give some very simple reasons why they shouldn't be using them. Now I've got another clip coming up. This is Jeranism, when he was talking about Max Egan and the flights. And let's take a look what he has to say. So here we go. Off we go.
He claims that it showed southwest the entire time he was awake. Let me show you a flat Earth map so you can get an idea of why that's a big deal. Now,
oh dear, he said, let me show you a flat Earth map so we can show you why that's a big deal.
Oh, look at that. What map is that, Lawrence?
I think that might be the Gleason map. And
okay, and he very specifically called that the flat Earth map. Okay.
Let me show you a flat Earth map, and that's on the 24th of June. So, well, you know, that's a bit surprising. So I'll come on to, you know, I'll use the Gleason as an example as to why these round maps just simply don't work. But while we're doing a few clips, let me get the other ones out of the way, and I can get them off my screen because they can cause some interference. We have Globebusters talking about free energy. Now let's see what they have to say about free energy. Okay, so let's bring this one up.
Thing too. So yes, just because it's something that we cannot necessarily always portray, like in a tesseract, that doesn't mean that there aren't real-world examples and also theoretical counter-arguments like what Nassim is saying here. So again, this is why I like to look at things like this, and you're right. When you look at free energy's model, it does make a lot of sense in that there could be these dimensions that we're not aware of. Go ahead, Jaron, I'm sorry.
No, my fault. You know, in his video called Fourth Dimension, explaining that Earth is a flat square, I think that it's that video alone, if you watch it, because the beginning has Sagan talking, and he's explaining, and I think it does an excellent job of explaining what would happen in a 2D world to a 3D question. You know, in fact, in a 2D world, if a square were to show, a sphere were to show up, but the people in the 2D world would not be able to describe the cube as anything other than the square that they see, right? But then in a 3D world, same thing would happen with us trying to be able to describe what happens in a 4D world. That we don't understand it, so we can't begin to rationalize it. But then it kind of led me to thinking that what might be the truth, though, is that if you look at the sphere model, which they have given us, because when you measure any different direction, or they think that you come back around the other side, so it must be a ball. But really, if there's no curvature on said ball, then you have to say, well, it might be because of what he's showing, this realm. And that would explain away, well, there's no curvature, but you do always show up where you basically came from. And then when you look at it and you kind of expand that out into infinity, and you realize that we are kind of everywhere. I know it's kind of hard to explain, and you'd have to watch the video and really try and understand what he's saying, because it took a while explaining it to my wife, and she was, you know, giving back to me and saying, no, I don't see it. And explaining to her by the end, she's like, oh, I totally do see it. That when physicists talk about multi-dimensions and they talk about multiple galaxies, they talk about it as in there's like me somewhere else doing something different, right? Like there's a me who went up to this point of its life and then veers off the path right now doing something different. And these are the multiple unending infinity of universe. Well, that does not make sense to me. That is like ridiculous, because who was inside that other person? You know, is it me? Is it? So that I can't rationalize. But in his model, we are every other universe. Not saying that we are there doing something different, but that we exist everywhere because we are the only thing that exists. So if you look at kind of the whole idea of why do we see, if I can go west from here in California, why do I show up over there? Well, it's because I was also coming from that other side. Does that make sense?
Yes, I get you.
Yeah, so I mean, it totally really starts to settle with me, because then you start to see different things, and then you can even explain some things that regular science doesn't explain, like.
So yeah, we're listening to that.
Wait a minute. Did he just say that he understood Pac-Man theory?
Yeah, he seems very, very positive about it there, Laurie. But when I listened to the show last week, the 4-hour show, Jaron did seem to be taking a slightly different attitude. Shall we have a listen to what he said there? Here we go.
We do, and that's what science is. Science is all about trying to debunk the current going belief. Whatever the current accepted truth is, that's what science should be, is trying to knock that off its perch. What science has become is a dogmatic love and worshiping of the foundations of science, and nobody will even let you trying to attack that current belief. Well, that's where we feel it's different. So we do think you're supposed to attack it, and that's what we've been doing for the last couple of days, is attacking this model, which is part of the reason that I'm excited about it, because I'm not finding any errors in it yet, but there is some things wrong with it.
So he says he's not finding any errors with it yet, but there are a few things wrong
you
with
got to give us time for the laugh track. I mean, come on.
Well, anyway,
Come on, Jaron. Come on, man. That's so. Go ahead, Lord.
let's go.
Well, you know what? Okay, so hold on.
Let's go back to an earlier part and see what he's saying about 8:45 on it.
I was going to say, I'm trying to figure out a good place to actually start.
Mention too that it's not a portal map, it's not a Pac-Man map.
No.
Because I think that's important for people to know that, because it's something that the reason I got into this all is because I believe you can see what's in front of you. I think we were meant to just be able to take the world as it is. So when you start hearing about portals, and I know I've personally flown from San Francisco to the Philippines, so I don't really think I went through any kind of portal. So it's just important, I think, to point that out too before getting.
How would you know? You think we wouldn't have discovered them by now if we were obvious? It was obvious we were going through them. I mean, come on. Oh, I just went through a portal. Did you feel it?
Can't stop with that, but that is hilarious.
Yeah. So what we have there's quite a bit of contradiction there. So let's just take a look at maps, and if Globebusters do eventually come up with a map, then for those of you who are watching, it should become instantly obvious whether the map can be possibly genuine. So I'm just going to bring up a little demonstration that I've got. It's not that one. Here we go. Okay, so itself. Let me just see if I can make this a bit bigger on here so you can read it better. Here we go.
As it is.
Let's make it a bit smaller. So, okay, so if you want to calculate the surface area of a round map, it's very easy. You multiply pi, which to 3 decimal points is 3.142, by the radius. And then, so it's pi times the radius squared. So on the Gleason map, pi times the radius squared is 487 million square miles. That is the surface area of that map, if it's correct. Now, on that map, if you break that down, the northern hemisphere is 122 million square miles, and the southern hemisphere is 365. Whereas on the globe, they're equal size. The top is as above, so below. They're equal size, but obviously here it's all skewed down to the south. And when you look at the surface area of the globe, which is 196.9 million miles, it's 2.47, nearly 2.5 times bigger on the Gleason than the surface area of the globe. So that is a big problem. So, those of you at home who want to start looking at whether these maps are genuine, have a look at the dimensions of the map. If it's not quite a circle, then you can probably use these sort of figures to, these sorts of maths to work it out. If it works out to be a funny shape, then if it's a funny shape, it's not going to be symmetrical, so that would throw it out anyway. And the other point is, what is the maximum distances between two places on the globe? The globe's just short of 25,000 miles at the circumference, so to get to anywhere, the distance between any 2 points can only be half of it, because once you go past that, you can go back around the other way and get that way quicker. So, on the globe, the maximum distance between anywhere is half the circumference, so it's 12,450.5 miles if you're going off the exact figures. But when you look at the Gleason map, you look at one side to the other, well, that is actually nearly 25,000 miles across, because you've got the North Pole in the center to the South Pole on the edge, And you've got that twice because it goes all the way across. So to travel from one side to the other, it's nearly 25,000 miles, which is twice the distance that it would be anywhere on the globe. And we know the globe's accurate because we've got, you know, lots of airline flights and stuff like that where you can check the distances between places. So when they produce a map, have a look at the, you know, the extremities on the map. They should have a scale to the map, because I got a scale to my map and I put it at the top. I think it was my map here, and my scale was 1 centimetre to 200 miles. So Globebusters, presumably they'll have a scale on the map. So those of you that are at home, you can take a look at the map and see whether the scale marries up to reality. So if it comes to, you know, if their new map's 25,000 miles across between the longest points, then you know it can't work. So that is a big problem. Now, what have I got for you next?
Anyway, before we go any further, I want to wish happy birthday to the Globebusters for their 1-year anniversary.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool that, you know, they've been doing this for a year, and after almost a whole year, it was just like right on the cusp of the anniversary, they finally decided that they were going to pursue looking for a genuine version of the flat Earth, and for that I commend them. So happy birthday, guys!
Yeah, and one of the other things, whatever map they come up with, the northern hemisphere has to be symmetrical with the southern hemisphere. The reason being is that all the evidence shows that the length of night and day between north and south in their respective winters and summers is identical. So if they have a non-symmetrical map, then they will not get this symmetry between night and day between the northern and southern hemispheres. And those are the main points. But the glaring thing that you need to look at here is that when you make a flat map, it's always going to be bigger in terms of the maximum distance between one side and the other than it is on the globe in terms of the distance between two places. So the only way on any flat map that you can you know, get to these places within 12,500 miles is with the repeating space, the space loop, or Pac-Man, if you want to call it like that. Now, they were obviously saying, oh, yeah, you know, Pac-Man is like, it's here, then it's gone. But when you look at time and date, and you look at the distribution of sunshine, when the sun moves off the west side of the map, the sunlight doesn't all drop off. It remains because the sun, it's like repeating space. So
Lauren,
let's just.
Could you do me a favor, please, and clean up your screen share? You've got overlays over what you're showing.
So it doesn't vanish instantly. It stays on. You know, the sun stays on the map. So when you look at the distribution of sunshine with the sine wave on time and date, then you can see that, you know, the sine wave continues even though the sun has moved off the west. It's still there, and you get these situations where you've got, you know, the sun on both sides of the map, which is because the sun is, you know, it produces a sine wave, which presumably is coming off the magnetic walls or magnetic fields on the surface of the Earth.
Yeah.
So, you know, so yeah, the map does need to be symmetrical from north to south, and if it isn't, then, you know, when they try and show time and date, you know, day and night matching on their map, it's just not going to work. So the next thing, here we go. The next thing. All right. So what I've got here, going off at a bit of a tangent here. Lo and behold, we've got the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. And this is on Google, off Google Images. Yeah. And when you look at these images, if you look at the bottom line, it tells you the source of the data. And as you zoom out, what happens is that the source of the data changes every so often. So at the moment, this source data is from Aerodata International Surveys. You probably can't read that at home. And this is obviously data that's taken from aeroplanes, and they filmed over the area. But as you zoom out, so I'm going to zoom out, and the Eiffel Tower comes more into view, and then you get other views. At the moment, it's still on Aerodata International, okay? But move out some more, still aero data, move a bit more, still aero data, still a bit more, still a bit more. And now we're on Google imagery. So once you get so far out, it's an image. It's not real. It's just, you know, something that they've produced from data, but it is not, you know, directly from with photographic equipment. And as you move out some more, it then moves to a company called Terrametrica. So you can Google Terrametrica and find out what sort of services they, you know, because they're linked in with Google Maps as well. Then you move out a bit more and you start to see that the continent's coming on the edges. So now you've got, you know, the English Channel on the top left-hand corner of it. You move out some more, and more and more comes into glue. And at the moment now, this is on Geo-based DE-BKG 2009 Google Imagery. That's another company. Move out some more, and it's on Google Imagery with NASA. Move out some more. INEGI Imagery, NASA, Terrametrica. So these are sort of all in collaboration with each other. And you move out some more, and now you get the repeating space. So if you look on this bit here, you've got, there's Africa, and then you've got Australia, South America, then back to Africa again, and then to Australia, back to South America. And you come out some more. This is as far out as it goes, and you get the repeating Earths, which does tie in well with the free energy model, because this is what shows up on all these models. So maybe this is something that is hidden in plain sight, and you know, the fourth dimension, the repeating space, is the reality that we have, but we can't see it because we're trapped in the third dimension. So anyway, I'll give you those.
Very nice, Lawrence.
Chat with you know, event skeptic about that and what you think about it, and I'll gather myself together for some other stuff.
Oh,
thank you, Lawrence.
Definitely. I can add in a bit if you keep that up there, Lawrence, please.
I'll present while you're talking. Okay.
Okay. I'd just like to share with your listeners and your viewers. No, I'd like you to keep it up, Lawrence, please.
No, I took it down now.
Oh.
He wanted to talk about it, Lawrence. Can you put it back up, please?
Yeah, or I can share a screen as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once
you get it back, I'll get it back.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, it's interesting enough that when looking at the map, if you want to visualize the days and the years, basically stretching this map out as you have gives you the ability to forecast the weather in the future and the past. What it doesn't do is explain the physical reality. It just is the sheer observable data that we can record. Now, for me, coming from a biblical standpoint, not a game designer's, when I read texts like God understands beginning to the end of time, it would be like this stream of days consisting of years, consisting of millennia, consisting of all the days of our lives and the generations of people. If God could simply see down this river of time as we see stretched out before us, it completely explains for me the biblical things that I could never understand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, exactly. I concur with that, because if time is running, okay, it's obvious we can't go back in time. I mean, people have tried, unless someone has made a time machine and literally gone back in time, which I think, you know, there's a paradox about that. Well, you know, wouldn't we know it if someone changed history? Well, no, because it was changed back then, so you wouldn't know it, right? So the idea, though, of us, the only way that we could go faster than time would be to travel faster than what? The sun? What is defining time? And so if you were in a Superman movie or watching a Superman movie and Superman started going backwards, I guess it would be east, and kept going and going and going, then would he actually reverse a day? And the same with going west. If he went super speed Superman, would he, get into tomorrow and next week?
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
go ahead.
Well, yeah, and to add in there, Stephen Hawking and the likes of Sagan and the other imbeciles and buffoons out there have taken this paradox or this explanation and adopted it towards their black hole theories, which is the event horizon that me and you discussed the other day. The event horizon, therefore, is the boundary line that separates the days, in my opinion. And the other thing this clearly shows with the repeater is an easy way to map it. You can also roll it up on a prayer wheel, and you could also have astrological times, dates, and signs marked on these rolls, as well as the Mayan. The way that they did their timekeeping was also done with these simple blocks of time. So I think it's great that you brought that up, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Lawrence, wasn't this gone for a little while? Remember, we found it a long time ago, like a year ago, and then suddenly, when you panned out far enough from Google Earth, or was it? Is there? I guess there's a difference between Google Maps and Google Earth.
Yeah, Google Maps, not Google Earth's obviously when the big ball comes up and you just, you hone in on
Right.
something and go anywhere on that. But it's interesting on I'll bring it up later. But if you go onto Google Earth and you want to look at the Antarctic research stations, it'll let you go directly into all of them bar one. If you want to go to the one at the 90 degrees, which is the Amundsen Scott station, you can't do it. All it gives you is the picture,
Right.
of the ceremonial place. Whereas the other ones, you can pan around and look around and, and move use your keyboard to move around and look around the buildings and all sorts of stuff. But the ceremonial,
you can't get a bird's eye view of 90 degrees, either north or south. The model just won't let you. You're coming in at an angle, and it's the same way with the north as it is in the south. You can't get directly over what would be, what is it, geographic north versus magnetic north. You can't get in there.
Robert Briseno actually had a physicist from NASA on a live hangout where he questioned her, and she admitted that the camera isn't pointed. There are no images or data of the North and South geographical pole. So,
Lawrence, you look awful dashing in your pirate outfit today.
Pirates of the Caribbean in the cold.
Yeah, Pirates
do
of
we
the Caribbean in the Arctic.
Did he not wear sunglasses? They have now. Sunglasses
go.
haven't been invented at the time of the pirates, have they?
Well, maybe some version of them was. I don't know, but anyway, we're trying to lighten things up a little bit because we do have a little bit of backlash from last week's Globebusters show and our show the day before their show, and so on and so forth. We're going to carry on doing what we do. We're not going to step down. We're not going to sit down. We're going to keep, moving forward. I watched a little bit of a video today from what was that, Antarctic Warrior?
Yeah, I believe that was his channel name.
And he said, pretty much it was like, where the hell are we? Why does it even matter what these maps and models, and all it is creating division, and it can if you let it, but that's not the avenue or the angle that we've ever been approaching it from. Actually, the angle we've been approaching it from is when we both came into the flat earth community and or movement, if you want to call it that. We were presented with a map and a model that people were calling the flat earth map, period. I mean, that's what they called the AE map, and the Gleason map wasn't hardly even spoken of until later. So just the AE map, as presented similarly from the UN map, was considered, and people called it the flat earth model, flat earth map. So, as good researchers and conspiracy theorists and critical thinkers, we decided to go through and look at all the elements of why everybody was calling this the AE map. And if they were true, then so be it. And if they weren't, then we were going to say, hey, we need to look for the right thing, because this is not the right thing. And that's exactly what we found. So
I could share quickly, Lori, if you
go for it.
If you present my screen.
Sure.
I'm not going to play video, but I'm going to explain a clip again, because I've heard other shows and other people talking about things, but they're never giving any answers or explanations. Today I'd like to show, throughout the show, I'd like to show this is the sonic dilemma on the Gleason's map and the stars. And I'd like to explain another thing later on about the stars, but can everybody see?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so basically this depicts someone in 3 different places all witnessing or observing the sun, which we can do and have done. The problem is that they're basically all looking in totally different directions. It just doesn't work where you have Australia up here and you have South America down here. It just, it completely destroys observable data, as well as how the stars move from east to west across the sky. It does not in any way, shape, or form work on this map. And, I still don't understand if people are getting this, if I'm not explaining it right. But this is where I heard Antonio Subirats talking about equatorial sundials working. What he didn't explain to people, or I guess the panel members on the show, the high esteemed Jaron and Bob and Cami, that if they have a circling sun on their HART or AE electrified map or whatever, the sun travels across this equator line and casts a shadow directly from east to west, or from west to east, throughout the day. It does not decline or go up or down. So the only way that the sun could circle, you would have a shadow that rotates like a clock. You would never have a shadow go from one of the sides to the other. Does everyone understand that here?
I do. Lawrence and I investigated that quite some time ago, but for anybody who doesn't, who's watching, explain quickly the 3 people who are looking at the sunset.
Oh, yeah, well, they might be different. One might be sunrise, one might be sunset, but this is someone at the same time in 3 points on the Earth observing the moon and the angle.
Okay, you got the moon. Okay.
Or the sun, excuse me.
Okay,
sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know why. Yeah, no, it's the sun's position.
All right.
For this gentleman, it's up in the sky, looking from Africa. From South America, he's looking. The sun is rising. What would that be? His easternly, southeasterly direction, and this person in Australia is seeing it set, and they're looking westerly, right? So if you follow the lines, your sun would have to be here for them.
Okay.
For this person in Africa, when they at the same time, this is all verified on timeanddate.com, he sees his sun. He's looking a north. I guess this would be a northeasterly direction. You see, and then so the other sun would have to be down here, compared to where the person's looking from Chile.
Okay.
So for the AE, this is the reason why the AE map does not work for me. Yeah, and I'm not going to just say that I believe in the square Earth. The reason why I believe in the square Earth is because it properly explains all of this phenomena. I'm not going to play the video. I'm just going to show it just by showing that as the sun and the moon travel across the sky, whether you're north, east, south, or west, you can locate where you are simply by observing the sun's equator position and your latitude and longitude. And this does not work on any other map or model. I don't know if people are not understanding that, if I'm not explaining it right, because I still see people in all the different chats and all the different videos, and they keep going on and on about the circling sun. It's just absolutely impossible. So that's my rant for now.
Well, that's a good rant, because that's one we've been having for quite some time. So it can't be circling, and that's pretty interesting proof. And we do invite anyone to verify what we're saying by doing some research on equatorial sundials. If they weren't necessary, they would never have been invented. Okay?
And the
People don't invent things just for the sake of creating a different kind of a sundial.
And the equal sides, the northern and the southern, and how everything aligns on the ecliptic above the processions. And these things all need to be verified by, like, I hope all your listeners and viewers, get interested in reading, start digging, go through Bing, go through Google, go through YouTube, search every possible library, search anything that you want. Don't just rely on people that are, handpicking 30 individuals to lead you down some narrow path. The path is broad. You can search anywhere, and I would hope to hear more people coming out with their own versions and what they're finding, rather than just 30 people working on what one group says that we need to do, right? So
why don't you explain why you're talking about the 30 people?
Well, I heard it proposed, I guess whatever, the gloves are all off. I know Bob and them haven't said my name. I know they've said yours and Lawrence's and many others. But hand selecting 30 individuals will only further divide and cause rift between the community. Not only is it, what about the other so-called, how many subscribers does Globebusters have, if we were to pull that up?
I don't know. They took the list down. They took their subscriber number count down. There was 8,000 or 9,000 of them the last time I looked, but now you can't see them.
Oh, they're down. That's odd. But so is their map.
They were yesterday, but then so was the video their 4-hour video, and when I looked, it wasn't there, and neither was the promo, and then it was back, and then it was back with another 2.5 hour one or something. So they're doing a little editing around and changing things up a little bit.
But what about the other 8,770 people? They're only picking 30 of them. I submit in all my videos. You can re-upload them, download them, criticize me, bring up new information. I open the doorway to people, and the only reason why I've come to the square or the diamond-shaped map in my mind is through the deduction of all the problems. And to further pick 30 people, it's just a complete insult. What if somebody really wants to help and, they're not on that 30-person list? Like, who the hell are they? Are they gods?
Well, no. I mean, obviously, like Jaron went on a little rant last week's video at the end about, I'm going to hang out with people who support me. I'm going to hang out with people who like me and that I like them. And so good, go ahead. And we learned all how to do that when we were in high school and when we had cliques. Yeah. So, the jocks hung out with the jocks and the hippies with the hippies and the nerds with the nerds. And that's the way it's always been. And I guess that's the way it's always going to be.
Not for me. I want to be challenged.
Not for me either. I mean, the idea is that, and I'm not being biased here in any way, but if you stood up 30 people who have incessantly worked on maps and models and looking at geography and the history of map making and all kinds of other, with respect to trying to figure out mapping of flat Earth, it would be Lawrence Wright. I mean, he should be like on the team. Now, would he be asked? Probably not, because he's a shill, according to them. So, I'm not just saying that. I wouldn't expect anybody to ask me, because I haven't been the one who has gotten out big giant pieces of paper and plotted 50 cities and airlines and air routes and longitudes and latitudes and so on and so forth. You can throw all the magnetic swirly-durly maps you want and heart shapes and everything else, but at the end of the day, if they don't plot out on a piece of paper in any real kind of way, then is the diamond the shape of the Earth? Nobody has said that. We've never said that. All we've ever said is that the diamond represents the layout of the data triangulated on a piece of paper that represents the size of Earth as we know it. 25,000 miles in circumference at the equator, and half that distance on one side, which would be 12,500 miles approximately, and that all the latitude and longitude lines are laid out on it with the degrees, and then all the cities were plotted over the top of it and triangulated for 3 times between 3 different ones all over the place. So if that's not good enough for anybody, then get your pen and paper out and debunk it. But unless you can, or unless you're willing to try and willing to put forth the effort, then you don't really have a dog in the fight, as far as I'm concerned. Does this matter to everybody? Absolutely not. Most people couldn't give a crap what the map or the model looks like. They just want it handed to them so that they can call it the flat Earth map, or they can call it the flat Earth model, and they can put it on their profile picture on their Facebook and be real proud to be a flat earther. Is that where we are? Absolutely not. Do I have any map picture on my Facebook profile? No, I don't. Is it because I don't have a map? No. Is it because I don't believe in the diamond map? No. It's because there isn't any definitive shape of the Earth. And now I just got done saying all that, and I'm laughing inside at all of the people watching me talk with this pirate head on. Is that pretty funny or what? Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. Well, as long as you're staying warm, Maru does get cold. Or you could be like Doomweaver and shave your head to stay warm.
Meru. I'm looking for Mount Meru. I think Mount Meru is a mythology left over from some of the other mythology, like Atlantis and whatever else we've heard about from ancient history. So that being said, Lawrence is probably back on a new parade of flat Earth information. Go, Lawrence. You have to unmute, Lawrence. Lawrence, you have to unmute now.
Okay.
You did so good, though. Thank you.
I went to fill my coffee cup up, and so I've been looking at the sun and things connected with that, because there's a lot of conflicting information coming out from different sources, and I thought I'd go and do some digging in the Arctic Circle to see what I could find, and I'll screen share this because this is very interesting to me anyway. So let me show you this if I can. Just bear with me. So what we've got here is Nordcap, which is in Norway, and it's 71 degrees north. And this is time-lapse photography looking out over the sea at the sun. So this is a 12-hour period from 6 p.m. in the evening till 6 a.m. in the morning. And I checked on time and date to see where the sun was in Nordcap on that date. And then I've typed it in over the map. So they've put a clock at the bottom, and I've just wrote the time in, so it's a little more apparent what it is. So we've got 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. And I've put the direction of the sun according to time and date. For each of those separate pictures that are on there. So we've got 12 pictures. And when you look at the sun, what do you notice about the sun as it becomes gets lower and lower in the sky? What's happening to the sun? It's getting a hell of a lot.
It's getting smaller, isn't it?
Jeffrey Grubb got hired.
So when people say the sun is the same size wherever in sunrise and sunset and during the day, or there's just a small discrepancy, that may be true in some places. But when you get to the extremities of the Earth, then you're going to get large differences in the size of the sun. And I'm concluding now that the sun is when you're actually seeing the sun, you're seeing optical effects. The magnetic fields and the boundaries of the Earth, the invisible boundaries, are having magnetic effects and are actually showing the sun in places where it isn't actually there. It was a bit like that sketch that you ran last week, Laurie, where you ran the thing through water, and things vanished and disappeared and things like that. But let's take a look. So all these distances, all these directions here, you've got from west to east over those 12 periods. There's nothing to the south. So the sun isn't anywhere to the south. But when we look at time and date, Let's take a look at time and date and see what that shows. I think this is the one here. Yeah, so this is on the summer solstice, and you've got the sun there coming. It's on both sides at the moment. So we're moving on 6 hours, and it's moving in a straight line from east to west. So Nordkamp is up in Norway, which is, if you can see my cursor, it's round about there where my cursor is. And at all times, the sun is to the south of it. And as you move it across, that's at another 6 hours. Yeah. And another 6 hours. And another 6 hours. So obviously it's staying day all the time, but the sun is never at any time to the north of what time and date is telling us. So
Right.
time and date's data, when you go specific to Nordkamp, it's giving a 360. So, and if you look at that one there, you know, if you were sort of bang in the middle there, the sun will be on both sides. You know, so there may be some places where you can see the sun on both sides because it's just going off that side. But obviously the sunlight is still there. And if we just move it on another hour, yeah, the sun isn't vanishing and blocking out all the sunlight on the west. So add another hour on. Yeah, we've still got sun on the west. So it's not like teleportation. You know, it's like a continuous loop of this sine wave that's going on. So let's just go and take a look at the specifics of Nordkamp up in the top end of Norway. If I can bring it up. So here we got the sun position, and if you look at that and you move throughout the day, so we start on the left-hand side, and we've got a bearing here of 0 degrees at 0020. Can we go a bit more? You know, so at midnight, you know, it's north, 356 degrees, and then you move it across, and you get to midday, and it's south, yeah, and then you move all the way down to the other side, and it's heading back to north again. So it's doing it's going through the 360 degrees of the circle, which we know is impossible. So there has to be some optical effects to create this happen, because we know the sun is moving in a straight line. And then if we take a look, so those were 12 hours. Let's look at you know, I've got a continuation, so that's only taking you to 6 a.m. And look where the sun is. It's over the ocean. It doesn't appear to me, you know, it could be, but it doesn't appear to me to be actually going round in a circle from the observer's point. The sun may be getting closer as it moves across. But let's take a look at the next slide, which is looking over the same place. Let's have a look. The next one. I'll make that a bit bigger. And obviously the sun is higher in the sky here. So you can see where it's at the highest. And again, we've got huge differences in the size of the sun. So if you look where my cursor is there, the highest point in the sky, that's midday. And you go back to, you know, to the left-hand side, which is the midnight sun. And again, the sun is getting hugely bigger as it gets higher in the sky. But it's still over the water. Now, I've had a look at Google Maps. I haven't got that in front of me now. When you have a look at Google Maps, if the sun was going behind you, it would be over the land and it wouldn't be over the sea. So, you know, I was planning to go on holiday there this year, but personal family circumstances meant that I couldn't go away for long enough to actually go there and do some filming and photography. But there's a strong possibility there that the sun is actually moving, you know, directly from one side to the other. And he's not going around the back of people, but I could be wrong. You know, somebody somewhere hopefully will go up to the extremities of Norway or Sweden and start, you know, getting some time-lapse photography over 24 hours and have some pointers to the directions. But you know, we've certainly got some new information about the size of the sun, because you've had Jeffrey Grubb arguing one case, you've got David Weiss arguing another, and you've got what's his name? Your friend.
Matrix.
Matrix. He's got some other data, but he's looking at the sun from Spain. So, you know, you're going to be getting different effects depending on where on this plane that we are.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I plan, Lawrence, you inspired me. I have started preliminary planning. I have a lot to go, but I plan on going to Baffin Island if I can, in the very far north of Canada. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Well, and also let's consider this. Um, if in fact, oh, I forgot to stop your sharing. Okay, if in fact, and let's think about perhaps that this is a square and it does have a pyramid over the top of it, which is what a lot of people are looking at right now. Um, think about what the optical illusion might be if the sun is coming at you from the right and you're on the far side of the pyramid. It's going to look one way compared to in size and angle than someone at the far south corner of this pyramid with the sun coming. You see what I'm saying? Wherever you are positioned on the flat earth, your sun is going to look different in its actions to somebody else, because I've watched film and seen photographs of people who have simultaneously taken photos of the moon, for example, at the exact same time. One person has it in the daylight, the other person has it in night dark. Okay, it's the same moon because it's the same time, unless we happen to have two moons, which I'm not going to rule out, but I doubt it. And the person that sees it in the dark has the lit side on the right side, and the person who sees it in the light has the lit side on the left side. And I've seen that. And unless people are totally putting bullshit pictures out there, which these are people who know each other and are doing this on purpose so that they can determine what do you see at the same time what I'm seeing. So are there optical illusions? I think absolutely, without a doubt, that cannot be ruled out. And because we all know that we're seeing an optical illusion when we see the sun set. We're seeing an optical illusion when we see train tracks go off into the distance and become a point and a dot and then disappear. We see an optical illusion when we watch a boat go out over the water and it becomes a tiny dot and then it's gone. We know that the boat didn't shrink. We know the sun isn't shrinking. We know it's the same size all the time. I mean, why would it get bigger and smaller? So these are all things that matter when you're trying to figure out the model, not necessarily the map, because the map is just the surface of the earth. We're talking almost like 1D, 2D, okay? We're not talking about the realm. So, yeah.
yeah,
I've seen now the videos of the sun appears to be going in a circle, but you just put a monkey wrench in that when you just said that the sun went all that distance during the day and it was still over water. So if that person, unless that person was standing on a tiny little island with water all around them, then that just debunked the sun going all the way around somebody.
yeah, and I think sooner or later somebody's going to do an experiment where they can have a hall or something, and they get some lights and some sundials and move the lights across the hall in a straight line over the sundials to actually demonstrate that that when the sun is going directly overhead, the shadow does not move around like the clock on the sundial. It's just moving in a straight line from one side to the other. So you'll get a long shadow in the morning. The shadow will vanish at noon, and then it will extend again in the afternoon. So I've got a little short video here to show how it actually works on the globe,
Okay.
which will give you an indication of how this straight line shadow actually works. So let me just bring this little clip up. All right, I'll make this full screen.
Let's use this globe to investigate the issues around sundial construction. We'll start at the North Pole. During the summer months, the Earth is tilted towards the sun, creating 24 hours of sunlight at the top of the world. The shadow cast by the extended axes at the North Pole moves across the landscape as the Earth rotates. Placing a dial over this post, we have a sundial. 24 equally spaced radiating lines representing 1 hour intervals. Every 15 degrees of rotation is equivalent to 1 hour. This sundial works perfectly, displaying time as the Earth rotates.
And that works real well on the Gleason and the AE map, right, Lawrence?
Pardon?
No.
That works perfectly on the AE map on the northern hemisphere, correct, Lawrence?
Let's place our sundial on the equator.
Talk about it when it's sorry, because I can't focus on two things at once.
South America. Our sundial is located on the equator at longitude 77 degrees west. I will rotate the dial so that 12 noon is pointed north. Notice how the shadow changes as the Earth rotates. Unlike the rotating shadow at the North Pole, the shadow here at the equator just changes length. In the morning it is long. As the day progresses, it gets shorter, disappearing at noon, then lengthening again throughout the afternoon. Not a very useful sundial.
Yeah, not a very...
Let's try another location.
If you want to pause it or keep going.
5 degrees.
I'll pause it, yeah, we can talk about it. So, yeah, obviously the same principle applies on the flat Earth, and obviously between tropics of Cancer and Capricorn and the equator in the middle, those are the places where the sun is actually traveling directly in a straight line, and sundials do not work all year round there. When it's actually directly overhead, they don't get the shadow moving around the sundial. It just moves in a straight line, and that's why we have equatorial sundials. They do exist. As Antonio Subarats kindly reminded us, I think Antonio got it completely wrong when he mentioned it on the last show. And sooner or later, somebody from the flat Earth community will have a holiday in the equator, during these times, and take a sundial with them and prove to the likes of globebusters that the sun is moving in a straight line and it's not going around in a big circle. Because if we had an AE map and that was real for the Earth, and the sun was circling around that, then the sun would always be going around the sundial and would always create a shadow moving around it. It wouldn't matter where on the map you were, the sun would still be circling it. And
that's what I just said, Lawrence, a second ago, and sorry to interrupt the video, but on an AE map or a Gleason map, the sundial he placed at the North Pole, so to speak, works fine. Right up on the top of the Earth. Yes, that's exactly how it works, and that's how the Gleason timekeeping device works. But the problem starts to break down the minute you get past the Tropic of Cancer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, there's the opposite equal and opposed sides. There's 3 places on Earth: the north, the south, and the equator, right?
Right.
So these 3 equal places are also how we observe the stars and everything moving across the sky. It all works in one beautiful loop, in my opinion.
Right. My opinion also.
So about the video that Lawrence was just showing, the problem there is they end up having to tilt the sundials at the equatorial position and other places and point it towards the North Star if you're north of the equator, and likewise you do for the south towards the southern crux, and this negates the so-called height around the globe moving north and south, instead of just explaining that if you're on a flat squarish surface navigating or sighting the sky, you would just simply locate the equatorial sky, the center of your sky, and you would be able to tell exactly where you were almost instantaneously.
All right, I've got something to show real quick, Lawrence.
All right. Can I just ask Event
Sure.
Skeptic a question, because you did that show on Chris Rock's program, and you told him all about the sundials, but he wasn't buying it, Ronnie. Why was that? Why? It's very easy to understand. Why wasn't he buying it? Is he? Can he not get his head around it?
Well, it appears what I've noticed from him saying was that the sun seems to be looping around him from his position that's in Canada. And it is an odd effect, because I believe the tilt of the sun and the equatorial sky, the center of the sky, is on a tilt as well. So it does give the illusion of a loop, but in no way does the sun ever go, north of the Tropic of Cancer and south of Capricorn, vice versa, right? Never. So
Okay. So I've got a monkey wrench to throw in. Since we know that we've been lied to about the shape of the Earth, and we know that we've been lied to about a lot of other things, and we also know that a lot of ad hoc reverse engineered theories have been created to supplement and hold up the globe model. What would be crazy about thinking maybe they tell us east and west is this way, and actually north and south is this way? Do you see what I'm saying? As far as the way we're laid out on, we always see every map, every representation of Earth with north at the top and south at the bottom and east and west, blah, blah, okay? And so we accept that orientation on the globe. So we automatically move that same orientation to the flat Earth mapping, all right? Now, I have noticed in the past that free energy has shown his model upside down, or in comparison to what we're used to, right? I mean, y'all have seen it. The South is at the top of his model, and everything's upside down. So when we see that, we automatically kind of we get agitated, because we're used to a certain visual, certain mindset. So for that purpose, I've been working on this plastic pyramid. I don't.
Wow.
Can you see it? Okay, it's plastic taped. It's sitting on a piece of cardboard because it's still flimsy at this point. But I have it like open inside for the most part, so that I can continue to play with it. And I have this super bright LED light, which is my sun. Okay.
no globes, no balls, no globes.
No globes. And so I've been, playing with what does that look like inside, and where's the light shining when I have the sun over here and down on the top. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just getting started with this. So don't everybody laugh, because this is just, a little experiment of mine. But right now it's all lit up. But you can see that when I light it, if I hold it way down here, not the whole thing's lit up, because I can hold it way down here, and on the other side, it's
I'll tell you what, it'll be good, Laurie.
it's kind of hard to explain, but I'm gonna continue to work on this, because this little high-powered light is my sun, and it's pretty good for size in comparison, sort of. So
Yeah,
that's
if you
my
could
little experiment I'm working
put
on.
a mirrored effect on the inside of that, Laurie, that might,
Well, this is all going to come in phases, and I'll keep tweaking it until I get the effect that I observe. I'm not going to make it work for the pyramid. I'm just going to keep trying to make the pyramid work for what is observed. So it could turn out that it's not a pyramid at all. It could turn out that it's, that it's the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas, and that we just live in this first floor right here, okay? and heaven is here and another second heaven is there and blah 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 blah, and God's up here at the top or something. Okay, so it also could be that this whole thing is replicated below, and that would give you your tetrahedron, octahedron, and so that would be that as above, so below thing, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to show you I was starting to work on that.
It matches the ancient Chinese as well. If I screen share, I was trying to show you guys this for a little while. You can see it kind of matches what you're saying. I'll try and make it a bit bigger here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So basically, the face of the Earth is what the Chinese believed. It says basically in the article up to the late 17th century, when the Jesuits conquered China or whatever they did, always they believed the Earth as a square lying below the dome of heaven. So basically, the inscribed circles around your pyramid, the south, the northeast, and the west, could explain, some of this thing. And it's just really interesting that you don't see too many flat earthers talking about the fact that the Chinese people really did think the Earth was a flat square. And it's been hidden with Google, but if you go to Bing and do other such searches, you do find over and over again that they believe that the Earth was a flat square. So just wanted to add that in.
Well, yeah. Think of it this way: if the information doesn't fit into what you want it to fit into, you're probably not going to go there, right? So if you don't want to think it's square, then you're not going to go Googling square stuff, And but if you're truly a researcher, you're going to look for information that doesn't necessarily fit your proposed hypothesis. Which again, I have to, reiterate week after week. It seems you don't make the data fit your hypothesis or your theory. You create a hypothesis based on the data. So people are doing that kind of wrong. And what you need to consider is gathering as much observational data and proofs and testable and retestable, and then that's when you come up with, wonder what this makes when I put it all together.
Yeah, well said.
So what do you got? What else? You got another more good stuff, Lawrence?
Yeah, I'll be with you. I've just
one of the things that is true to both Lawrence and my nature is that when questioned or when bullied, especially, we're going to step up to the challenge. We're not going to back down, and we're certainly not going to run away, and we're not going to pull back. We're going to push forward probably even harder. So that being said, when someone says, you guys are dividing the community, no, we're not. The community is already divided. It was going to be divided anyway because you've got agents all over the place, John LeBon, who are creating division on purpose. I mean, you've got gatekeepers who are have infiltrated the flat Earth community, who are putting out information that's just wrong, and they're laughing all the way to the bank because the whole idea is, let's see how gullible we can see these people are, and let's see how screwed up we can make this whole community and movement and whatever it is. So we're going to keep pushing forward, because if you don't care where we live, if it doesn't matter to you, and whatever anybody hands you and says this is where we live, AE map, whatever it is, with a little terrarium dome over the top of it, and you're comfortable with that, then this is not the show for you. This is going to cause you, irreparable cognitive dissonance. Okay? But if you aren't the kind of person who likes to be spoon-fed, then this is the show for you, because we're going to continue to offer new and uncharted stuff to keep adding to the whole big picture.
Do you want to show us something, Ronnie? I've got plenty of stuff to go on, but if you want to bring,
Oh no, you go ahead. I can show later. Go ahead.
What do you got? Wait, let's go back. Let's do you. What do you got?
What I was just showing was the
Yeah, show it.
a YouTuber by the name of Flat Earth, or The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. Do you know him at all? He's got a really good video up, The Final Mystery School, Flat Earth. It's quite interesting that you have other Flat Earthers saying that occultism knowledge is, just knowledge. And this is the image or the map that we've been given by the Globebusters crew, at which they emphatically discredited the looping effect of the sun. So I guess on this map, the sun is going to just circle. Do you guys know?
I wish I could answer that. I've heard sine wave, and I've heard magnetic, blah blah. I've heard all kinds of stuff to support this, but
yeah, well, with the North Pole in the centre, it simply isn't going to work for the reasons I outlined earlier. But it's interesting that you mentioned The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction, Ronnie, because I've messaged him, and Laurie has as well, and he has agreed to come on the show, so he may well be on next week's show. We're just waiting for him to get back to us.
Yeah.
But we won't be really talking about models. We'll be talking about, where Flat Earth's actually going. Let's say at some point that we do get a model, where do we actually go from there once we've, if we figure out how it all fits together, what do we do next?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question.
Where are we going to take it?
Yeah, that's great. Great question.
So he seems to be quite genuine to me, and serious sort of guy. So I thought he'd be a good guest to have on the show, and hopefully he'll be on next week.
Yeah, I concur.
Okay, so the map that you just had up, or whatever they're calling that, I mean, I don't even think they're actually calling that a map. It's just one of their representational drawings, illustrations that they're using. Could you mute, please, Lawrence, for a minute? The refrigerator noises behind you or something. It's pretty obvious that they have 3 poles there on that map, and I don't know what that's supposed to represent. And second of all, can you see on your version of it, because it's not big enough from here on the screen, Ronnie, what is the cardinal direction?
North is 0.
Okay, so that's up in this up in the far corner, left corner up there. That says that's pointing north. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, and where this little pyramid, I guess, is just a line, is just a demarcation thing. What is that supposed to be representing? Did you catch that in the video?
Well, I heard it was the birthplace of all creation, Kim. He said Hawaii. Hawaii was where all the islands of the earth had birthed. And then they were also saying, so this would be the new Greenwich, would be Hawaii. And was it Giza? Was, I guess this is Giza. Is that correct? You guys
No, I think I heard the same thing you did, that's Hawaii, and that Giza, that's the, Hawaii is the international date line, and Giza is the prime meridian. I thought that's what they said.
Yeah.
I don't know where the third pyramid or whatever that represents as an icon, I don't know where that comes in at, or what that's designating.
Well, they got these 2 points folded together, they were saying.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So does
so
that
creates,
is that a time loop, or is that a? I mean, they've specifically said that they did not have Pac-Man as part of their model. Of course, every time I hear the word Pac-Man, it just is like, oh, that's just one of those burner words that we shouldn't even be using because it doesn't really represent anything we're talking about. But
yeah, well, they're saying that the sun is circling like this, like a toroid, going, around and around. and the continents are laid out again like the AE map, which is impossible because Lawrence just explained and showed video proof of how the sundial goes in a straight line. It doesn't circle.
Right.
I don't know how they're going to recompense this. And these images that I don't know what they're trying to show here, but these images are taken with the lines of Cancer and Capricorn, and the positions of Mercury and Saturn and Mars are the pivot points of your scribe, compass, and squares to draw this. So I don't know what they're concluding that a toroid could possibly draw a pyramidal pentagram when we know that this is drawn and derived from a flat square representation of the path of the stars. I don't get how nobody else understands that. Okay.
Okay, I got an idea here, and so I'm gonna take you back off share. Okay. Oh, wait a minute, I got my camera off. All right, so, all right, if this were the square, okay, and we were trying to represent the same sort of wallpaper flowing effect that Lawrence showed us coming from Google earlier, okay? Let's just say that time worked like this, okay? Here's Earth, all right? And this is time, all right? And then we took time. This is the portal that you don't know you're going through, okay? This is okay. There's a printed side and a non-printed side, okay? So just focus on the non-printed side. So here we are, and this is the Earth, and we're traveling, all right? And then as we travel, okay, the time, okay, and we poke a pen through here, okay? That's how seamless it would feel that you are moving through time, all right? Because the Earth is a realm, and you can't explain it and you can't see it because it doesn't work that way in the human brain, because we've never been able to witness this. We're living it, but we can't actually experience it. So if that means anything to anybody as a way to describe how we can move on that wallpaper, all right? It's the same thing with the Mobius strip, all right? You take a piece of paper and you make a Mobius strip, and it's real simple, all right? You take this piece of paper like this and you twist it one time, okay? And you, hold on, this is the tricky part. You twist it one time, it's why it's easier to use thin paper. And you put this together like, I need thinner paper. Hold on. Let me try this one more time. We've all made Mobius strips. Okay. You got to twist it around and back again. It's right like that. All right. So that's a Mobius strip. It doesn't look right because it's folding. But if you took a scissors, all right, and I'm going to show you this next week because I don't have all that stuff ready here, and you poked a hole and you started cutting this in half, and you followed your half and you came around and you came back to where you started, you'd have two Mobius strips locked together in like Christmas loops of paper that you used to make to put on the tree. They'd be locked together, but now you'd have two out of one. These are things that people you have to see these things in order to get your mind around it. So when people just poo-poo it out of hand, that's easy to do until you actually experience it or see it or, do the exercise, I guess is the word. Okay, go ahead, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Got another thing?
I think you've got something. You can.
Oh, go ahead, Lawrence. Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so I took another look at Antarctica to see whether I could get some verification from more than one source that that indeed that they're that what's showing up on time and date and the Antarctic stations are actually mirroring up. So first of all, let's just take a look. I'll screen share again. Okay, so let's have a look at time and date at Casey Station. So what we've got here, they've got a local time. So right there at the moment, it's nearly 6:30 in the morning. But what it's saying is that, let's have a look. There we go. Sunrise is at 9:45 in the morning, and the sun's coming from the northeast. And sunset is at 3:45, 15:44, and the sun is setting in the northwest. So let's go and take a look at Casey Station now. So bear in mind those times. Sunrise around about 9:45, sunset about 3:45. Let's have a look to see whether that's actually mirrored at Casey Station. So I'm going to bring that up and play the time lapse, the most recent one, Casey Station. And there we go. Let's make it full screen. I'll just play it through once and then we'll stop it on the next time. Oh, right, it's pretty dark there at the moment. The one yesterday was different, but you can see the one I got yesterday was actually showing it. But I'll play it again. Just take a look, and I'll stop it in a certain place if I can. Stop it. That's pretty bad, but you can see there that it was pretty black there. I've got another photograph actually that I took some screenshots of there when it's really dark. So if you just bear with me.
All I know is I'm glad I'm not there.
Here we go. There we go. Open. Casey. This is quite interesting, actually. So if you look at here, Casey Station, this is on the 24th of March, yeah? So you can see that at the top, time-stamped, 24th of March, 2016 at 8 p.m. It's still, it's like twilight. But you move to the next day and look at the same time. Let me bring this next one up. Casey Station on the 25th of March. Yeah, one day later, it's pitch black. Yeah, so you can imagine if those lights weren't there, you're not going to be able to see where you're going. You can see it's pitch black around the building, can't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we've got Robert Shortman, the guy who says he went to Antarctica. I've no doubt that he did, but he's actually stating that it never went completely black. It was always light at some point. But when you look at the footage from lots of the research stations there, you're getting total blackness in the wintertime, which is contrary to what he's saying. Now, he was asked on Nathan Oakley's show.
Lawrence, your sound just went wiggy.
Drop out and drop in.
All right, I'll go out.
Lawrence, your sound just went wiggy. Please drop out and come back.
Okay, I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, when his sound goes out, it's just like blowy. It just goes out. So, okay, what do you got? What do you got?
My icon. I constantly change my icon throughout the show just to share certain things. This is the actual sundial, which is also funny that looking from the north direction is also the way that Free Energy would display some of his maps. So I'm just bringing that back into the conversation. I think Lawrence is back.
Yeah, well, I had the Casey yesterday, and it was an exact mirror of what's showing on time and date in terms of when it goes dark and when it goes light, and you can actually look on time and date. And just bring that. This is up. So this is time.
Lawrence, your camera's off now.
Oh, right. Is it? Okay, let's go back on. Just a minute. Okay, camera's on. Right. Is it on?
No, it was for
It
a second.
flashed.
No, okay, so let's go back to,
All right.
here we go, time and date, and you look at where Casey, so Casey is on the time and date map. It's just below Australia at the bottom. So if you look at the day and night world map, which is, so that's June, that's North Cape. Sorry, let me just get a current one. 23rd of June. Just bear with me. Time and date. Night and day.
In the
There we go.
meantime, this is a nice map that someone made for me that I pissed off when they
Oh.
wouldn't even listen to me about the square map. So
Yeah.
Beautiful.
thought I'd share that real quick.
I love it. That's beautiful.
Somebody went to a lot of trouble just to, say you're an idiot, your square map stuff is idiot stuff, blah, blah. So go ahead, Lawrence.
Yeah, so at Casey Station now, there are only about 5 hours daylight or thereabouts when you watch the Casey Station video. They had a lot of mist and fog there, so there wasn't very much to see. So I'll have to save that for another week. But when you look at the sine wave of the sun, so let's start moving it across an hour at a time, you can see that at the bottom, it's pretty much dark everywhere you are as you move the sun across. There's very little daylight, but there is some daylight. So you can see on the bottom right-hand corner, the edges of Antarctica there have got some sunshine. So that's added another hour. Yeah. But
Well, it is important, Lawrence, what words we use for daylight and sunshine and
yeah, so you've got these bands, and obviously these are different types of twilight, but when it's in the actual bright light, so you can see that edge of it there in the bottom right-hand corner, that's actually in daylight there. And as you move it along, so obviously from their point of view, they're actually seeing the sun there to the northeast. Yeah, and as you move it along for sunset, it moves across. Let's move it across 6 hours. Yeah, and you're going to get the sunset a bit later on. Yeah, the sun's gone down there by there. So the sunset is actually set into the northwest, but I've gone too far across there. And I've got a picture of Casey. Let me just bring that picture up where I talk about. Let's have a look. Antarctica.
Oh, boy.
Let me just see what it's called. There we are. There we are, Casey. Just a minute. Let me get that, Casey. I've got a Google image there because you can actually go down there. Casey map. And all Google Maps have north pointing upward to the top. And so this is Casey Station here, and the sunrise is coming to the northeast at 40 degrees, and it's setting at 320 degrees to northwest, and that is mirrored exactly on time and day, and is mirrored on the Casey footage at the webcam, which we unfortunately can't show now because they had bad weather and the webcam wasn't showing, what was happening over that 48-hour period. So let me just come out of that now. Yeah, let me stop sharing. So yeah, the north and south are mirror images, in their respective winters and summers. Contrary to what a lot of the other flat earthers are saying, they're still hanging on bitterly that the South Pole and the North Pole are totally different places, when it's not true.
I've got something I want to share. Uh-oh. There we go.
Mute, Lawrence.
Is it me?
Okay. Am I sharing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. This is just to change the topic off just a little bit for a second. NASA claims these moon marks are from space rocks hitting it over millions of years. And the other side says, cool story, bro. Where are all the impact trails? You mean those thousands of rocks all hit at a perfect 90-degree angle? And this is an important thing to consider and to use as how far away the moon is, how the face never changes, how all it does is rotate around a little bit back from one side to. Please mute, Lawrence. If the Earth's impact craters come in like this, and they do, I mean, they never just hit straight splat, and if they did, it would be pretty horrific. So you can capture this if you'd like to use as some of your, arguments when you're talking to those coolio globers, because this is a good proof here. Okay, go ahead, Lawrence.
Yeah, just going back to when people produce maps. When they produce maps, yeah, let me put this behind here. When they produce maps, then obviously they're going to put a scale on it, and they're going to have to triangulate between cities that are many thousands of miles apart. And as you know, I did over 50. So if you look on that one, we triangulated London with Quito and Cape Town, which are about 6,000 miles apart, and they were all well within 10%. Some of them were exact, and then we got London to Singapore, and Singapore to Cape Town, and that one fitted. And then we got Quito to Cape Town, Quito to London, and then we got triangles within triangles that fitted. So everything, the biggest anything was about 10%, 10-15% in terms of route distances. So that's what you need to do if you're going to start proving a map. So once Globebusters have got their continents on, assuming that the distance across is not more than 12,500 miles, because if it's more than that, then they haven't got the Pac-Man feature to take shortcuts. So that's something else that needs to happen. You're going to need to measure lots of distances between cities to make sure that the distances on the map mirror up to reality. Let's just take that down again.
All right. Well, these are obviously important elements.
Cami has been cutting out bits of paper apparently, and she's just sticking them willy-nilly. But when I put that map together, I did use some science behind it and was using actual longitude and latitude. And I've put Australia on there, which took me ages to do. I haven't done the other continents, but they're actually coming out exactly as the Calignan map. So when you look at the Calignan map and the shape of Australia, it's exactly the same as on the map that I've got. So that's a good guide because the distances fit and the sizes fit. The Mercator map is great for navigation, but the Mercator map, the surface area of that is twice the Calignan. So there's too much land on a square map. And I have actually a message Free Energy about this week, and he still has no answer to it. Well,
you know what? While we're there, let's talk about what he made his latest video about on the
lunar.
What is it? UTM? No, the UTM.
Okay, I have the lunar one up. I can do the UTM.
Oh, go ahead.
Have you?
I want to talk about UTM though, but go ahead.
Oh no, I'll go to the UTM one. Go ahead.
Okay, if you have it.
Yep.
This is something else that it needs to be determined and explained, and yes, we're all aware that. Let me present that. Okay, we're all aware that when the military specifically uses this mapping method, the idea is that every one of these little squares is, can you show that with your cursor? Yeah, every one of these little squares represents a certain distance, and I believe it's 1,000 kilometers or miles?
It breaks down in size.
Or no, it's not. It's feet. something. Yeah, there's squares inside of squares inside of squares.
That's right. And there's the 10,000 to 1,000 to 100
Right.
to 10.
Okay.
You know, and what's interesting to me though, if I don't know if anyone else noticed this, that it's actually on an angle. The size of the square isn't equal here. I don't know if you can see the screen, Lawrence, as well.
I see that, yeah.
Well, because if you were building a T-bar ceiling, you would equal the center of the room and then split the distance of one of the squares as your center point. But obviously, they don't have equal start and end points because they have these little pie slices. So what they do is they break the square down into a half of a square, and then they give you the coordinates so you can locate. If I skip ahead.
Those little pie
ticks.
squares are cut out that way on purpose, Ronnie, so that they can keep their good little soldiers understanding they live on a globe.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. It gives them a boundary. So as you can see, the numbers coincide. You read right and then you read up. And it's pretty interesting. It's a good video. But what you were trying to say was basically what I think I heard was it's a little bit primitive or simplistic.
Well, let's think of it this way, okay? Obviously, this grid is designed for globe believers, okay? But the idea is that each one of those grids, you can find things within each grid by counting clicks and ticks and doing some simple math. But if the Earth is if the diamond map works out, and this is where you have to sometimes concede on a point. If the diamond map works out for all the land masses, okay, we don't know that the diamond map is that the coordinates that we've been given for the globe aren't hiding some other land, or some water or something. Okay, some square footage. Well, let's just call it that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. In the north and south, there definitely is a discrepancy in my mind where there could be an opportunity. If I show you my icon really quick, stop screen sharing. I have an image. If you present me.
Yeah, you are presented.
Oh, it's not completely showing. But on the see, these two would be Sheol would be below, the earth, the heavens above, and then you have the foundations on the sides. This is, I guess, a westerly view. And the face of the earth with the three trees would be the square, or the diamond would be on the floor, would be here in the center. And there's more like the Garden of Eden, and there's other land masses outside of these mountains.
Okay.
I'll leave a link for the subscribers later, but it's just interesting that there's the concept of Eden, or in the ancient Egyptians lore, they talk about traveling 7 days or 7 24-hour loops, but never turning to end up where the meeting place across the rivers into the afterlife. And Aristotle and a bunch of other people have written about this, and it's quite interesting that the concept of going through chasms or rivers below, or there might be caves or tunnels through the foundations, and there might actually be more land. I'm with you on this one.
Okay, so when you think about, for example, and this is 100% speculation. So, and I'm as Jaron said when at the end of their last video, this is our show, and we can say whatever we want, and we can have whoever we want on it, and we can speculate however we want. Absolutely correct. It is your show, and you can speculate however you want as long as you're saying you're speculating, which is what we pretty much do all the time, unless we show a formula or a visual or a proof of some kind to back up what we're saying. So this is speculation because I've not been to the top of Earth and I haven't been to the bottom, wherever they may be. So if I were to speculate that one of the reasons why they don't show us the top and they don't show us the bottom of the globe is because A, we don't live on a globe, and B, we don't even know what's beyond the point. Okay.
Well,
So let's just speculate for a second that east and west is actually north and south is actually east and west, and the way we go around Earth when we think we're going east and west, we're actually going north and south, and that's where the loop is, and that that perhaps it is scripture that says, I will separate you from your sins as far as the east is from the west. Now we're talking about a great distance, or it has to loop back around again, okay? Because that's with the way the globe works. So if in fact east and west are around this way or across this way, then there is some way that it meets back up to itself. And because otherwise, I mean, it sounds like they're talking about sort of like infinity, okay, or a very long distance as far as east is from west. And I don't think that they were talking about the diamond map or just a square.
Well, you know, I can add in there because it's a great point. What I basically get from this topic is almost the broken telephone game. I'd like to believe that we have devolved over time, and the story we've been told has been broken bit by bit as it gets whispered from generation to generation. So what I like to think of it as, instead of truthers, what we're trying to do is to find the original story. We're trying to take out the pieces that have been ad hoc'd in. And that's why I get so upset with why I've changed my tune with the Globebusters crew, is because I continue to see them ad hocing the exact same situations that brought us into the Globe debacle. And I don't think people are noticing that as much as let's say you or I or anybody else maybe listening. Hopefully we can get that out.
Yeah, because, you know, when you have ad hoc additions to support your hypothesis, if each individual aspect isn't testable and repeatable, but it explains this one little problem we have, then it kind of screws up the whole hypothesis. So yes, I believe in magnetism, and I believe in you know, that there are elements that are operating the realm that we are unable to explain. But if you don't entertain all information, you know, there's some people who say, well, I can't add in this Enoch stuff because it's not in the Bible and it's not in, you know, recognized as apocryphal, or it is apocryphal scripture, or whatever the term is. Then you can't use that. Well, if it fits and it adds to the picture, and it is, you know, we haven't been able to debunk it, well, then of course we should look at it and we should entertain it. I mean, it can't. Although I keep going back to M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. You know, this is things we don't speak of. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
They
I totally understand.
And they controlled an entire village worth of people, full of people, with things we don't speak of.
Yeah.
Lawrence, you have a ball.
Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, I was just going to come on to
Hey,
something.
Ronnie, by the way, when Lawrence has got a new prop, you might as well, he's chomping at the bit. You might as well just let him have it.
I'm looking forward to it, yes.
Yeah. Just bear with me a second. Well, you two carry on for a minute. I'm just looking to get something together here.
Oh, okay. All right. So, okay, back to my, you know, thoughts on, you know, is there more hidden? I've never. You can go back and watch some of my very early videos where, you know, where I've said that there could be hidden land. You know, I've said throughout the months of doing the show that I've always thought there's more, or speculated that there could be more. So, you know, is there more to the north? Is the north actually the east? you know, as long as the compass works, it doesn't really matter what direction the needle points in, as long as everybody agrees that that symbol, that it's, you know, direction that it's pointing, we all concur, we're going along with this is north. I mean, the compass could be actually pointing anti-south. It could be actually pointing south. It could actually be that north and south are east and west. So don't rule out anything. And you know, does that muddy the water even more? Perhaps. But at the same time, there could be somebody out there who just heard me say that just made them go ding, ding, ding. And
also, Lori, it's not that I want to be out here pushing a portal. It's the fact that the data and the evidence leads us to, you know, the sun must be doing something like this. That's the only observable explanation, not a thought experiment, not some cockamamie gravity ball cannonball experiment.
Thought experiment for a minute. Go there.
Well, just before Lawrence gives his demonstration, I've heard Bob and the crew of Lakes talking about thought experiments. Like, this is taking us right back to the underpinning of the globe lies. You know, thought experiments are just as practical as, you know, pissing in the wind, mind my language. That's all I hear. I want to see observable things shown on a graph, a map, a diagram, a working illustrated depiction of what you're showing me. I don't want you to tell me to imagine in my mind what it looks like, what you're saying. You know, show us what you guys are trying to say. Hopefully Globebusters does that.
Yeah, thought experiment. Keyword. Okay, go ahead, Lawrence. Wow.
Yeah, just going back to the Pac-Man, or, you know, the repeating space. When it comes down to the map, when you convert the globe to a flat map, the surface area on the flat map is always going to be more than the globe because you've squashed it. And you can look at the globe and find any 2 points on here, and none of them are going to be more than 12,450 miles apart. You two do get that, don't you? You get, you know, because if you say, well, what about if you go from one point and go 3/4 of the way round? That's more than 12,450. Yes, it is, but on the globe you can go in the reverse direction. So on the globe there are shortcuts, and the reason they invented the globe with shortcuts is because there are shortcuts. But we're not on a globe, we're on a flat Earth, and the flat Earth has the same shortcuts as the fucking globe. And it's so obvious. Yet all these people treat Pac-Man, the repeating space, the fourth dimension, they all treat it as though it's a big joke. Well, how does the globe work? It's got shortcuts.
Exactly.
And
Right.
if you go and look, here, let me bring a little screen share up. If you go
If
and
they
look,
never wanted us to think that it was a globe and they were trying to hide a globe, they would always say, well, we got to go all the way from here all the way over this way. We can't just go over there because that doesn't exist.
yeah.
That doesn't
So
exist.
the world's farthest apart city pairs, with a population of over 100,000, are 19,996 kilometers, which is 12,425 miles, between Rosario, Argentina, and Xinjiang, China. And then you've got Luan, China, to Rio Carto, Argentina, 12,442 1 mile. Sorry, that's for the last one. Cuenca, Ecuador, to Sabang Jaya, Malaysia. So there's nobody got distances more than 12,400 and something miles. So when
Bravo, Lawrence. That was really good. Now, see, you just followed through with your supposition, and you proved it.
yeah,
At least that's what the data says.
so when Globebusters come up with a map and it's 25,000 miles across and they've got no shortcuts, how are they going to explain that? Because the only way to get from A to B is going directly across those 25,000 miles, and the routes aren't going to fit. The only way they'll fit is if they're shortcuts. The shortcuts on the globe and the shortcuts on the flat map.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
I'm down with that. Okay, so you know, if you're going to go book a flight and you want to pay lots more money to fly from point A to point B, when point A and point B could going around one way around this globe, okay? but there's a point A to point B on the other direction that's like 49 miles away. Why would you choose to go the long way around? Correct?
Yeah, well, that's because Bob was saying in that latest video, because they have to say it to make it fit. Bob is saying that when people circumnavigate the Earth from east to west, they're not east to west on their map is a circle.
Right.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. Magellan, you can look at Magellan's map, and he went east to west. You look at all these round the world yacht races, they go from east to west.
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous to assume that they're going round in a circle. And if compasses didn't work, how would you navigate anyway? He's saying compasses don't work. You know, there's only one direction, one true direction, that's north. Well, how the hell do people navigate with compasses? I've navigated with compasses, you know, and they do work. You know, I've been on long distance walks. I've walked the Pennine Way in the UK, which is, you know, it's like 300 miles over the backbone of England, and we used a compass. You know, and we weren't making special allowances for magnetic interference. I'm sure there is some, but the magnetic interference is most concentrated at the poles. There's no magnetic interference whatsoever at the equator. You can check that on these airline forums. Zero interference at the equator. So you can go east-west at the equator, and your compass ain't going to get affected at all.
Okay, I agree. And I got one for you. I got another Mythbuster one here. And this is, okay, hold on. I need to go back to this other screen. This is Captain James Cook. Now, pardon me from Wikipedia, because I could pick any other one of these here, okay? But these are the 3 exploration trips of Captain Cook that people say over and over again, blah, blah, blah. Captain Cook sailed around the Antarctica trying to find an entrance into Antarctica, and he went for 3 years or whatever, and he never found his way, and he never found his way past the ice wall, and yada, yada, yada. Okay. Now, I don't know which one of these lines you'd like to follow with your eye here, but the blue line, the green line, and the red line all represent 3 different expeditions that Captain Cook and crew took. Now, I would like for you to look at the convoluted journey that this guy took with his crew. The green ones they all start up here and end up here at wherever it was, Portugal or somewhere.
Spain
I
or
don't
somewhere.
even. Okay. And you know, of course, Pac-Man. He went down here and came off over here and came back on over here, and he went, you know, nowhere near Antarctica. Okay, and it's way down here. And so the red line, it goes to the tip of Africa, and it goes up to, you know, the East Asian islands and back down and around Australia and the loop-de-loop around. Okay, you catch my drift, and then back down around there's nothing here on this red journey that shows that he was, you know, skimming the surface of Antarctica. The blue line shows you, we take off again and we go off that way, and I don't know, we had a loop-de-loop and we came back over here and we went up all over here and all around. Where's Antarctica here? Where's he trying to find a way into Antarctica? Back down and loop-de-back around and back over here and back home. My point, the green line actually looks like a mouse in a maze. I mean, that's like, woohoo! We're just going all over the place. I don't know whether we're looking for gold or we're looking for spices or what the hell. But by the time we get back home, we've traveled a lot of miles. But we have not even remotely approached the perimeter of Antarctica. Now, whether you want to agree that that line goes all the way around the outside of this circle map, the AE map, or not, the man probably poked his nose. This looked like a couple of nose pokes here and a nose poke over here, looking for the perimeter of Antarctica. But other than that, he's just sailing around in the South Sea.
Well, if you could imagine, Lori, to interrupt you, if you could add in the map that Lawrence was showing from Google, how it shows the days broken into the 24-hour Earth periods. If you were to put one on the right and the left, it would properly illustrate without no need of a loop or anything else. Just the fact that going left or right, you'd simply be traveling towards that direction. Am I off? Do you get it?
Yeah.
It
No.
makes sense.
Yeah. So enough of that. I don't want to hear that anymore. To me, you can say that the whole ice ring cook voyage thing to anybody else if you want to try to punk people into believing about this ice wall. But anybody that says it to me, you're just going to get that picture. And if you can't figure it out, then I don't need to waste my time explaining it to you. I mean, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Done. If that makes me bitchy, guilty.
I don't find you that way. I don't agree with everybody's drama. I'm just here for the data, and you and Lawrence and Matrix Decode. There's so many people out there. Too many to name. Did you guys catch the fact that free energy? I know Bob said that I just in a comment somewhere that I just run around ripping him off. Well, unfortunately, when I back check his work, a lot of it does work, Bob. Unlike thought experiments that you're peddling. If I could screen share, Free Energy has explained how lunar eclipses take place. Did you? I'm sure you guys must have seen the video.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
So can you see my screen yet, or?
Yeah, I got you up.
So basically, the two sine waves, or the light that is bent down towards the Earth that we observe as the sun and the moon, create these sine waves in its path through the days that I'm calling and the years of our lives, and as the two sine wave or light body shapes, which he's illustrated quite brilliantly, I don't see anybody anywhere even close to this guy with graphics, and it's just mind-blowing, Bob. So if you want to cut me up, I'm proud to say that this work right here. So as the sun and the moon and their two sine waves, whether they be reflecting off of firmament or let's say foundations on the sides here that are unseen, or even just atmosphere. If you want to go the static Morgile plain truth way, he believes that there's just atmosphere. So sure, the sun and the moon are casting these sinusoidal sine wave type shapes, and when the two intersect, basically it gives you see the red line and the blue line would be the sun and the moon and their waves, and it's just brilliant. As soon as they overlap, I'll fast forward here. You get the twilights intersecting, which, by the way, the Globebusters and Antonio Superat's crew completely verified that the twilight dates, times, and positions are verified during their sun experiment. It perfectly proves this. So when the two overlap, you get the twilight red that shines on the moon, and as the two leave, you see the red. This would be when the sun and the moon are overlapping, and then it goes back to normal. And do you guys have any thoughts?
I watched the video. It was brilliant, and but he got all his information from that. It wasn't special information. It's all come from time and day.
Right.
I asked him.
He's using the same data, and it's interesting. Not to hit back at Globebusters again, but I did sit through the 4-hour plus video last Sunday, and interestingly enough, everything that I saw presented up on screen was nothing of their own, and it was all images and illustrations and so on. The only thing I did see was this is how the moon gets phases. Can you guys see that? I saw a whole bunch of this, and I'm like, what is that? What is she trying to show? And people going, oh, that's awesome. That's marvelous. And I'm like, what is that even about? This phase thing. I'm using a rock, and I'm not using a ball. But what was she even showing a ball for on a flat Earth proof?
Well, that and Lawrence, I'm sure you noticed they were showing the sun in an ecliptic path around a ball Earth as they're demonstrating their sun.
Yeah.
Going easterly.
Yeah.
I'm getting real confused on what we're trying to show people here, and what kind of mental chaos are we creating. Imagine this, imagine that, but I'm not using that as my image. And then they make fun of us and say, oh, these guys have these terrible presentations. What was it, Miss Bitter and Mr. Boring? And these terrible, homemade presentations. Well, you know what? Debunk them again. We'll ask you the 80th time. If you got a problem with the way we're presenting stuff, then debunk it on your show, which you don't. We don't talk about them.
Yeah.
We've never talked about them ever.
Well, we ignore.
But now we're going to spend 20 minutes ripping them to shreds and saying a bunch of crap about it. So, I'm trying real hard not to go there. But at the same time, Mr. Antonio, spent all this time calling us, uncharismatic and so on and so forth. We're not trying to win an Emmy. We're talking about boring stuff unless you're interested. If you're interested and you want to watch in real time, or you want to come and watch later, then maybe you'll pick up a tidbit or two. But charismatic, get real.
Well, I haven't seen anyone debunk any of the stuff that you and Lawrence have done. I haven't seen any AE debunked square map debunkings. I haven't seen one single proof.
Well, I mean, we're doing this so we can learn and teach. Learn and teach. Okay? No, we're not telling anybody you have to believe this way or you're on the wrong team. We never say that. What we do say is we feel, debunked your AE and Gleason map, and that means your model's debunked as default. Okay? We have said that. And we have been a little buggery about going around and going you're still doing that. You need to stop doing that because new people are coming in, and why should they get brainwashed with bullshit dogma, and then we have to go to all this work to try to get them out of it, and because it's wrong. Okay?
Well, you're the open source Flat Earth Conspiracy Channel. It's open source, and that's what's the best part of it.
Well, I mean, that's the intent of it. That's been the intent of it all along. We wouldn't even be doing this. Lawrence has got shit to do. I've got shit to do. We both could be just having fun and watching movies and doing whatever normal people do for the last 9 or 10 months. But instead, we spend hours a week trying to think about what we're going to talk about. Lawrence way more than me, obviously. And then, we spend hours talking about it. We spend hours of people's time who are watching, okay? And at the end of the day, the only reason why we ever even really got involved in doing it is because we smelled some bad stuff out there that we wanted to investigate.
Yeah.
It's serious. You're not. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Well, yeah, so just going back to Globebusters, I'm sorry to keep busting their arse, but, it needs to be done. When this show's over next week, we'll probably move on to other things. Well, we may have to debunk their map if it comes up. If it doesn't, if it's great, then we'll hold our hands up and say, wow, well done, guys. You brought a great...
Wait, Lawrence, wait. Before you go forward, did I ever say the word destroy?
No, never.
Ronnie, did I last week, did I say I was going to destroy their map? I was going to destroy their model. Did either one of us come close to saying the word destroy? If we
Lawrence is kind of a little eager to destroy, but that's what a true scientist is. And when something's wrong in your neighborhood, you know who you're not going to call, and that's the Globebusters.
Yeah. All right. So Bob, his promo video, okay, and he's accused us of saying that we said Cammie's birthday was, they were making it up.
A hoax.
We didn't actually say that. What we actually said was they knew about Cammie's birthday the week before. So, they suddenly realised on the day, oh dear, it's Cammie's birthday now. We can't do the show. And the guy who was going on the long trip, did you notice when they brought the show out? Wow, this guy, he was climbing mountains, he was seeing all his family, and he was doing whitewater rafting. Can't wait to see all the photographs. And then Jaron had made a video, and that was a reason why he couldn't do Globebusters. He made a video. But I'll tell you what annoyed me the most. I'm just going to share a screen for you now. Now, this came out. The guy who Bob had entrusted with designing the map was a guy called Insanity, and the other guy, what's his name, was doing the heavens, the guy from South Africa. Yeah, he was doing the heavens. But Insanity have been entrusted with the task of putting the map together. Now, he must have known on Sunday, the day of the show, that he ain't got the fucking map. It wasn't ready. But what did he do? He put this out. It's only a minute and a half. Let's put it out. Let's see what the guy said.
Show it.
Here we go. And we know Insanity's watching this, so maybe he wants to comment, saying why he put this video out when he knew full well he hadn't got the fucking map.
We know the Earth is flat, but we also know that the flat Earth model has flaws, like the mystery behind the Santiago flight that Max Egan was witness to. But how do eclipses work? Is there an ice ring? If the North Pole is north, then where is south? We don't even have a fully functioning map. But everything is about to change. Forever. Please, guys, put aside your differences with whomever you may like or dislike, think is a shield. Put all of that stuff aside and tune into Globebusters tonight to have your mind blown. It's what I've learned in the past couple of years while being in this community is that unless we work together, we're not going to get anywhere. And right now there's so much conflict between everyone for absolutely no reason. So I think it's about time we put all of that aside and work together, because when we do, amazing things like what you're about to witness tonight can happen, right? So I think this is a new beginning. I personally do. I think it's a new beginning, a new chapter for Flat Earth, and from here on, everything's going to be different. So I encourage everyone to tune into Globebusters tonight.
Can I say something there?
Wait, you have to wait till I get done laughing.
Okay.
Absolutely no reason. All of this is going on for wait, hold on. Absolutely no reason. Okay? Because wait a minute. You all this time you've been using this flat Earth map, and absolutely for no reason suddenly you're changing. So what's the reason? That's the reason for the problems in the community, is because there's a reason that there's problems. It's because this stupid map is holding everybody back. This dogma, this unproven bullshit is the reason why Lawrence and I have been harping on you, Globebusters, and anybody else who continues to use this map. And now suddenly, wait for your mind to be blown, and the community needs to work together? I mean, absolutely no reason.
Yeah, well, if I could come in there, I totally agree with you, and I'd like to say it sounds very almost Hillary Clinton campaign style, where the Bernie Sanders, bash Hillary, and then, okay, now let's all support Hillary because we don't like the other enemy. And I personally hold Amir accountable, Insanity, for putting out false information, lifting people's hopes when they know fair well that they don't have any maps. Show us the map. There was no map. They don't have any model, and they've got people that are following them and getting excited and having their lives filled with energy, only to be told that there's 30 special individuals that are going to be bringing this truth forth after Amir just stated that they've already be prepared to be mind blown. The whole world is going to change. This very motive, this very serpent-like snake style, to me, where you come in and you say you're of peace and all you're doing is distracting and dividing, I'm gonna say you're gonna get squashed at the foot of the truth. So Amir, it's time for you to do a real truth check, brother, and everyone else that's playing into these ups and downs and these fantastical rides. We're here for the truth, not for some fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, why did you put that video out promoting Globebusters when you're the guy entrusted with putting the map together and you got no fucking map? What was the point of it? It was to boost the viewings for Globebusters, which Bob was bragging about. That they were in the top 10 of all Google Hangouts for that day. You know, you've got some explaining to do, Amir. Why did you put it out? You hadn't got the map, but you told everybody that they had.
I just put a link for you to play in the chat, our inside chat,
Right.
Ronnie. If you would play that, because I cannot play videos, my
Without sound
doesn't work.
Lawrence will have to do it, please. He's got the sound working great.
Okay, Lawrence, can you go in the chat, click up at the top in the chat, and get that link, please?
I've no idea where chat is. I've never seen
it. There's a blue message box at the top left beside you. Okay. And just to say, Amir and everyone else, we all will be held accountable for what we say. And that's another reason why I take it very serious when people are playing with other people's lives.
Hi, guys. Stress Captain Media here.
Okay. You need to present that on the screen, Lawrence. Share the screen.
I'm sorry. Okay, just a minute.
First model.
Just a minute.
Go back to the beginning.
Okay, just a minute. I've actually got that one up anyway, so just bear with me.
Hi guys, Stress Captain Media here. This is such an exciting day. That's where we're going to see the Flat Earthers' first model. Flat Earth British talking about it on a hangout with Doomweaver. This is going to be history in the making. I can't wait. This is so exciting. Globebusters have their first map, working map. This is going to blow all the skepticism away. Even me. I might even change my name to Jed. Flat Earth Media. This is my heart's beating here. I can't believe it. Let's go, guys. Let's watch this. And welcome everybody to Globebusters. I am your host, Bob Susi, and we have a great show for you today, a primer for a new Flat Earth map and model. So we have really put a lot of work into this and we've got a lot of information to share with you this week. And actually, as always, is my co-host, Jared from Jared. Yes. How you doing today, Jared? But it's right. Show us about. For those of you that don't know, tomorrow technically is our 1-year anniversary for Globebusters, and first podcast, which was just meant to be a long time. I hope you did as much stuff there as you did in Colorado. Yeah, we did. Show us about. Come on. Keeping us on edge here. Come on, man. But come on. Beautiful. Show us about. Okay, and Antonio also. That's it, right? Come on. Gotta wait. And help have all those this model. All this will I guess this map later on because she's really good at explaining a lot of the things in the map. But how are you doing today, Antonio?
I'm really good, Bob, guys. I'm looking forward to the show. I'm looking forward to what we're going to do.
Yes, me too. So, all right. So I guess let's show us to start out with today. Now I know a lot of people are saying are looking forward very much to a complete presentation of the model today. Now I will tell you that we have worked very hard on this, and when I came on work a week ago and did the channel update, I basically told everybody that Cammy and I had tried, and Cammy mostly really put a lot of this together, had kind of set a model that seemed to fit all of the parameters that we were looking for. I also said that it most resembled the heart-shaped map. Now, I have since gone on other shows and other hangouts and kind of corrected that, and as well as correcting it right. So the map, what you want to tell us is that it is not necessarily the map itself that is heart-shaped. If anything, it's more show us the map. Salvador by Mr. One Princess. We are going to use and when I meet with ODD and his channel gets taken down, I've been accused of that. We've been accused of shows the map. That's just nonsense. I've been accused of on this trip. This was just flat earthers. My God, these flat earthers. Chills and the real critics are going. So anyway, getting back to what I'm going to do, I am going to be releasing information at every bit of how we got there to a small community. And it will be handpicked by Jared, Antonio, myself, and Tammy, and we will be sharing this information so that if anything happens to us, you know, Atlantis is really important. And the second, if you get out of this for marketing purposes, another accusation that's been made. No, you don't know that. But this was the nonsense. Share this information with the community, but I think that it's responsible for us not to fact check it in every way possible as best we can before it is released. And so that is why I not exist, and Nikola Tesla was right to run it out of town on a rail. Outer space, astrogravity, is centripetal dielectric inertial acceleration, pure and simple. As for
Nice one.
Inertial acceleration.
Matter is the product of dielectric accretions at in the cosmic structures in mass.
Oh, wow.
Again, Peoria, it has a very good explanation for gravity.
Come on, Bob, that's been an hour and a half.
Something like that. It's the person who put his head to her and started thinking and putting things together and finding real, bona fide scientific proof that
Okay, that's enough.
Go to the end. You
Well,
put
Go to
it-
the very end.
So this is
I'll try.
The person wants
even though all the parts are pertinent and
I
great to
know,
listen to.
but people can go and watch it. It's Jed Skeptic's channel.
Let's
I'll
move
put the
it.
link.
Come on, are we? Let's move it
Oh
on
no,
a bit.
it's Flat Earth Vancouver. Okay, yeah.
I'll move it towards the end now. Last few bits.
Off we can find the
fuck is that?
early those three poles, the depiction of the vortices of the three poles, where we have the two sides. It looks like the same district. Correct, of course not. So it's evenly so. By moving it, they made it so it's in the middle of.
Oh my God.
Let's move it on.
Okay. All right. That's good.
I want to watch it to the end because it's only got a minute to go.
Play the end.
Why just mark your fucking mouth? No, guys. This is the best Flat Earth has to offer. You're fucked!
Just give a round of applause.
Yeah.
Great job. Great video.
Yeah, well,
Oh my God. I mean, nobody could. I mean, that's exactly what I was feeling the whole time I was trying to watch it, and he captured that so funny. I mean, I had high expectations. I wanted them to come up with something wow, especially after you hear all that. Oh, this is going to be earth shaking and
Mind blown. The whole world is going to change.
and world changing and yeah. So you know what? Don't hype your crap because if it's not, you're going to pay big time. And that's coming from Miss Bitter and Mr. Boring over here. You know, all we're trying to do is just get rid of the crap that people like Jed Skeptic and many others make fun of the flat Earth community, because it's crap. I mean, it is crap. And you know, if you want to take yourself seriously, I do. I mean, I consider myself a flat earther, and I've actually said it out loud to people at dinner parties. I believe the Earth is flat, and I mean, I get the what looks, and you know, we're talking about credibility here, and then people putting crap out, and people seeing it, and then they go, "She believes that crap." I mean, come on. That's why I'm doing this. That's why Lawrence is doing this.
Yeah, anybody watching that for the full hours will be losing the will to live by the time we get to the end. I mean, Jeb Skeptic just summed it up perfectly. Because, I mean, you worked it out, Laurie. How many thousand hours of...
Well, I mean, okay, so I was kidding, and I did make a comment on you know, Flat Earth Vancouver's channel that... or whoever, somebody mirrored it. I think I put my comment on the mirrored one, but regardless, I said, oh my God, there were an average of 800 to 900 people watching the whole time, because I was watching the viewer count down at the bottom, and you know, the chat was going full force. I mean, it was like Mach 5, this chat thing going down, and so 4 hours times 900 people, or 1,000, roughly 1,000 people, and then I watched the next day or day and a half, the view count was up to 18,000, and I'm thinking, you know, I know 8 people don't watch the whole video, but if you even took 18,000 times 4 hours, like 72,000 hours of humanity, just for what? Okay. Of course, John LeBon had to correct me. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I think he's just scouring YouTube for me to say something somewhere. And he said, you know, Lori, you know, if you go and look at your, you know, your statistics on your videos, you'll see that people don't watch that many minutes. And yes, John, I know, I was kidding. I was exaggerating, and I do that a lot. And anybody who watches my shows or me knows that I am Little Miss Sarcastic very often. But the reality is a whole lot of time was wasted. And, you know, there is a responsibility, I believe, when unless you're going to call yourself entertainment. Now, if you call yourself entertainment, John LeBon is correct on this. If you're just entertaining people and people are coming to be entertained, then the investment is an equal quid pro quo. Okay, but if you put yourself out as education or, you know, science or anything where people are expecting to learn something, and then all you're doing is attempting to entertain them, I mean, Jed Skeptic was more entertaining in that 15 minutes. I mean, that was probably one of the all-time flat Earth comedy shticks right there. I mean, that's got to be a keeper. So, I mean, I'm mystified. I'm absolutely mystified that there isn't bigger backlash in the flat Earth community at this wasted amount of time. And yes, I do want to go back for a second and say, I'm sure Bob's wife, Cammie, has her birthday on the same day every year, just like all the rest of us. So that birthday could not have snuck up on anyone unless you guys just are so hunkered down in maps and models and figuring shit out that Cammie's birthday literally snuck up on you. But then you turn around and say, Cammie wants to spend her birthday working on the map. Well, why didn't you go ahead and have a show and work on it? Okay. Well, you didn't go anywhere. You didn't go out for birthday dinner. So, and who cares whether Kirk can join you or not, or Antonio Suit, you know, the rat. joins you or not.
But
I don't have any love lost with Antonio Subaratz, and it's obvious he doesn't have any with me for me. But charismatic and boring and bitter, get a life. Who's the one who goes around attacking everybody's comments everywhere and shutting comments down?
Well, not only that, yeah, that's a great point. I'm sorry to interrupt you. The comments are the way that people discuss things together. Once you shut that down, you're basically admitting that you want to control the narrative 1,000%.
Absolutely.
And this is different. I'll put a caveat in there as compared to having a chat running during a Google Hangout. You take your show seriously, and you don't want to be affected by people trolling in the chat, which is a definite problem. But with Cami and myself and whoever else, when I start feeling or seeing people subjecting their own personal projections into their Earth model, I start to realize that they're deluded, they're egotistical, and they're absolutely in the wrong. When she started stating, well, I don't know if they live in Hawaii, but they definitely have a house there or some influence with Hawaii, when she starts saying that that's the birthplace of the Earth, and you can tell that this is all contrived in her imaginary, fantastical mind. And this is the exact reason how they were able to thought experiment the stupid globe into our world.
Yeah. Thought experiments are an exercise in fantasy. That's what they are. Okay. I have as good imagination as the next person. I spent a lot of time sitting in the back with a dunce cap on in class in school because I was so busy fantasizing and dreaming and being creative in my mind because they were boring me to tears. That yeah, I totally understand that. But we're not talking about fantasy, especially if we're trying to contrive a map that we're going to blow everybody's minds with. Okay, so enough about that. We have answered it. We answered it before it happened. Maybe we put a hoodoo on it. I don't know. But whatever map they come out with, we have, if you've watched our show over the last year, however long it's been, if we haven't inputted into your head enough information and questions that you should ask about how to observe and what to observe and where to get data and how to research, if we haven't done that by now, then we've failed miserably, because that's been our intention the whole way through. And not to blow anybody's minds, unless you get your mind blown easily by us, projecting some thoughts, some random thoughts here and there into what if, okay? Because the what if is a part of the way to go to the next week and decide what to work on and what to present and what to investigate with each other, all of us together. That's the whole impetus of the show. Not to pick out 30 people and give them status, and make them feel like, well, they're important and they're part of the group and thank you for supporting us, and so on and so forth, because that's definitely not the idea that we're trying to put forth. There is no king and queen of flat Earth, right?
That's right.
No king and queen of flat Earth. There's no devil of flat Earth, and there's no professor of flat Earth, and we're not clowns, so especially not clowns. So, and the whole idea is if you don't want to watch our show, then you don't watch it. Same thing that they just said. So put your money where your mouth is. If you feel like you're getting your bang for your buck by investing 2, 3, 4 hours in Globebusters, then go ahead and watch that. If you feel like you want to entertain the concept of questioning what was implanted into the Flat Earth movement as a map and a model that turns out is false, then you will follow your heart and your mind, and you'll come and check on what we're doing from time to time.
Yeah, I think it's quite clear that they are trying to control the narrative, and the narrative is the model. They're using all sorts of strange methods. I mean, for the life of me, I cannot believe if Globebusters want to consider themselves a serious show, why they brought that Antonio Subrats in, who kept interrupting, and what he was interrupting with was totally irrelevant to what they were talking about. And he didn't do it once; he did it umpteen times.
Oh, absolutely. He did it multiple times. And I'm going to speculate that I believe that Antonio is brought in for the purpose of creating mental chaos so that you won't know that you're not being wowed, okay? That you won't be able to keep your attention focused on what they're actually saying. And his role is to create just distraction over here and distraction over there, and every time somebody gets in a flow of talking about something, he jump in and, oh, let me interrupt here, Bob, or let me interrupt here, Jaron, and then go off and just like, wait a minute, that just kind of seemed like one of those impromptu, what is it? What's it called when you're playing in a band and somebody does just goes off on a riff?
Yeah,
What's it called?
improv.
Improv. Okay. So and then it's like he goes over there to prove some point that nobody was even talking about. And then, thank God, I guess, somebody has enough wherewithal to go, well, okay, thank you, Antonio. And now we'll continue talking about what we were talking about. In the meantime, the people at home are, do-de-do-de-do, and, picking their nose and, writing to their mom and sending out emails, waiting for the map. Where's the map, Bob? Where's the map? Show us the map. I mean, that's what happens. So,
show us the map.
So here's where we are, okay? And it's not by anybody's choice. It is by evolution and serendipity and whatever else, okay? Yes, we have camps all over the place. Why? Because that's the way we have been orchestrated and manipulated to be. Why do we have our camp, for example? Because this message that we were told, that is the flat earth map and model, was untrue. So that forced us to go pull our tents over here and set up a separate little camp and try to figure out what's going on over there. Okay, so that's happened throughout the flat earth community all over the place. The domers and the the squares and the triangles and the pyramids and everybody's, it's like we've got international and national flat earth teams, okay, and playing intramural flat earth something. Go.
Yeah. I'd like to share something with you guys if you want.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, mate.
Before, in the beginning of the show, I said that I'd explain. I've heard Globebusters and specifically Jaron trying to explain the motions of the stars and the Earth. And what I don't hear him is explaining anything. Now, Free Energy, who I'm going to plagiarize again because when I fact check and research his work, it lines up. So basically what he's stating in this video, which makes complete sense, on a ball varying from north to south, latitude to latitude, the equatorial or the terrestrial and the sky stars, the equator, should vary. When you move north or south, the rotation of the stars you see in the sky should lift and lower as you go higher and lower, just like this diagram shows here that everyone can see. And this doesn't work at all. This is completely bunk. What we do observe is the fact that the equator in the sky is fixed, and basically the north and the south you can navigate using the fixed celestial equator. And this is something that I don't understand how Bob and Jaron don't get it, why they're not explaining this. But it's simple. Do you guys understand this concept?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See the angle of the yellow line If you were to move directly at the equator of the sky, it would be at your 12 o'clock. And moving south, it would then proceed to angle the opposite direction, vice versa with the north. And it works on a flat Earth, not on a celestial sphere or a AE map. So that was just what I wanted to share.
Good. And I've lately been watching quite a few videos from people who are doing how-tos on how to do time-lapse star trails. And they explain, how you take the pictures and how many pictures you take, and then you edit them into Photoshop and you put them together and so on and so forth. And so for people to say that star trails are fake, and I've actually heard this from several people, star trails are fake. They're all Photoshopped. They are indeed Photoshopped because people use Photoshop nowadays to paste the images that are taken blip, 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 blip through time every minute or whatever, however long apart they have their camera set up to take a snap. Okay, so yeah, you put it in Photoshop and you edit the clips together. All right, that does not mean that you edit the curves of the way that the star trails curve.
You can, but the majority of the star trail videos are frames per second or per minute of the movement of the sky, and they're just cartoon run like animation video.
Right. You can do anything if you want to Photoshop something. I'm learning to do that myself by putting the little crisis actors in every one of these little scenes that I see going on everywhere. My latest one is the Pokemon, crisis actress in front of the people standing around staring at their phones playing Pokemon. And so, which is frightening in and of itself, because here we are trying to grab a few people's attention to learn a little bit about, where you live, and everybody's staring at their phone, chasing imaginary creatures around outside. So
yeah, that Pokemon created a big problem in the UK because somebody was trying to locate a Pokemon, and they were driving down one of the freeways or motorways, as we call them over here, and he stopped his car on the motorway, and there was a 10-mile tailback for this guy who was trying to locate a Pokemon. It's crazy.
People have died.
Another way to sidetrack people from actually, another diversion, like, the gladiators on TV. Everybody's chasing after these Pokemon characters now. I've got no idea how the game works, but I won't be looking at it.
I'll tell you, from what I can, of course, somebody made a little meme the other day that I thought was rather funny that, let's see, I think I put it up on my Facebook, that was Hunter S. Thompson saying, back in my day, if we wanted to chase imaginary creatures around, we had to drop acid like everybody else. And I thought that was actually pretty funny. But the idea is distraction, and we all know that it's just about distracting people. And a couple years ago, it was dumping buckets of ice water on your head. And,
well, they've said now, Lori, that they've cured ALS with that movement.
Oh, of course. Sure. Why not?
But you also were speculating with me that it might be a larger grand scale to get people more adopted into the whole computer side, the Matrix.
Yeah, into the Matrix. Let's get them all hooked into the Matrix to where we actually now have them chipped, whether they know it or not. Now you think about that. If you're carrying around a device that never leaves your hand or pretty much your side, which is your smartphone, you might as well call yourself chipped.
Yeah, you're chipped, videoed,
it's considered a wearable at that point.
Multiple chips.
Yeah. And so you just, you're giving up data that even the Patriot Act wasn't able to accomplish. You're giving them access to your location, your internal workings of your phone, and you think it's just an app, but they've taken control of your camera and the video on your camera. So it doesn't work if you don't know where your location is. If that doesn't bother you, then
Plus,
maybe you should read the book 1984 by George Orwell, and then it might matter.
it's also a little bit creepy,
More than a little bit creepy,
in my opinion. Seeing like men and it's just
you're in the Matrix. I mean, imagine the scene in the Matrix where they say, cue the street scene, and Neo and Morpheus are standing there, and the whole thing with the woman in the red dress and blah blah. Those people, remember the little speech he made about, these people are hopelessly inured into their belief system and their reality system and blah blah, and they don't even know what they don't know, that they're in the Matrix. So this is just, in my opinion, this is only level 1. There's 7 levels coming that I know of, that I've been told about. Okay, so if this is level 1, imagine what it's going to be like by the time you have people playing level 7.
insane.
Of course it's insane. But, people say, oh, come on, you're such a whole frumpty dump. People are having fun, and they're getting outside, and they're, socializing. Are you kidding me? Wow, what socializing is that? We're all staring at our phones together? I mean, that's like asking somebody, oh, hey, guys, where are we all going to go and stare at our phones together this weekend? That's what it is. So, so anyway, we've got a few minutes left. What has anybody got anything mind blowing to add to the show?
Lawrence is muted.
Lawrence, you're muted.
Yeah.
You're doing so good at that. You're doing really so good at that. I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to turn it back on. Well, last week I did the rice experiment. I didn't use rice because I didn't have any, so I used quinoa, tricolour quinoa, and I've got these 4 jars with words written on them, and not one of them has actually got any mould, but it has started to decompose. Funnily enough, the one that says love, gratitude, and thank you is doing worse than the one that says hatred, you make me sick, I will kill you. But none of them have actually got any mould on us at the moment. So I was actually thinking, was that Dr. Emoto experiment, was it a hoax? It made a lot of sense, but was it a hoax? Because nobody's repeated the ice experiment to look at the crystals. So, but you've had the rice experiments. There's been a few on YouTube which is showing the ones with negative words on going rotten. Well, I've done the experiment, and that's not happened. So I'm going to keep them going, and I'll see what they're doing next week. But at the moment, the one that says love and gratitude is decomposing more than the one that says you make me sick.
Okay, and how's your the Earth is flat or it's not flat one?
Yeah, okay, let's look at that one. If the Earth is a sphere, keep the rice free of mould. Well, that one started to steam up. The one that says if the Earth is flat, keep the rice free of mould. That one's doing the best of all 4 at the moment. You see that one started to steam up, that one hasn't. So, I'll give it another week and see what happens.
Yeah, steam up means fermentation is occurring.
Yeah, something's going on. Well, I don't know, the moisture's evaporating or whatever, but, a lot of the things we do take at face value and we don't check it out. So, Dr. Emoto was a fabulous story about water holding emotions, and maybe it does. But, let's see if we can recreate those experiments. See whether it's true.
Well, somebody asked in the chat, or in the comments last week on the video, and said, "How does the rice know what language you're putting on there?" And of course, I just said, I think it's based on the intent of the person who's writing whatever's on there. would have to be reading that, because if it was in Chinese, it would be Chinese rice. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
agree.
the Chinese person or the Arabic person would know what they wrote on there, and I would have to say it would have to have something to do with the energy of the intent, based on not just the language or the letters or the words.
Could be, yeah. The big
We'll see what
question now.
happens. I'm glad you're doing the experiment, and I did follow one actual Facebook friend who did post photos a few months ago of his experiment, love-hate experiment with rice, and it did pan out that the love rice was still white a week or 10 days later, and the hate rice was bad, skanky. Science and science experiments I find in my refrigerator now and then when I forget to throw out things that are in containers I can't see through.
Yeah.
Well, go on, Rory.
No, it was me. I was going to say one of my first experiments I ever did was I showed how the capillaries like action in celery can defy gravity by bringing the nutrients up from a glass of water with dye in it to the top. And the other thing I wanted to bring into the flat earth topic and for other viewers is the fact that I've observed plants, trees, and other types of nature actually grow towards the sun. Now, I've never heard anyone say that the sun might be a pulling effect. I've always heard the sun is a pressurizing effect. So my question to the viewers and to the panel members here is, how could plants and trees be growing towards the sun if they're supposed to be a force pushing down from it?
That's a good question. I would say that I've watched plants. There's a few kinds of plants like morning glories, for example, that they're little vines that I've had them growing up a fence before, and they definitely follow the sun as it goes across the sky. I hope that's not some Masonic thing I just did. It probably is. Somebody's going to screen capture that.
Yeah, they don't know in the
These are little
signs.
vines. Okay. And then I've been to the south of France where they grow whole fields of sunflowers. And I drove down a road on the way to somewhere that morning, and I took a photograph of the faces of the sunflowers all facing me because we were coming from the east. And when I came back, I had to stand over here and take another picture of the sunflowers because now all the heads were facing the opposite direction. So I would say that there is an electromagnetic, dielectric, bioelectric something energy exchange between the plants and the sun.
So I propose if we were to check that from from east to west and north to south, it'd be interesting to see if all the plant life was actually growing towards the equator, which is just more information and other things for people to chew over mentally, because with the globebusters you can get so stagnant with observable real of things that we should be studying as scientists. And I just really excited that I could share that with people, and I'd love to hear in the comments below or on anything, my channel or Lori's Facebook page, which is great as well if people haven't checked that out. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm always interested in more data. And if anyone could show where they live or the way that the plants that they observe are growing, I think it would be great.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've done everything from grow avocados from seeds in the window, and I literally have to keep turning the glass around that has the little sprouting avocado seed because all of when they first sprout, it's like a great big seed, and then there's this shoot that comes out of the center, and then leaves start coming out like this as they grow. And they're fat leaves for the size of the sprout actually, they'll all turn toward the window, and then I have to turn the glass around so that now they're turned back inside the room, and then by the next day they're turned back toward the window. So there's definitely a magnetic effect for the plants toward the sun. And I'm not using the word magnetic from a scientific standpoint. I'm talking about the draw.
Yeah, great points.
Yeah, I do agree with that. So obviously we've got Globebusters show tomorrow. I think it's their anniversary show. Do you think they'll be revealing the map next week, tomorrow, you two guys?
Show us the map, Bob.
Are we going to see it?
Bob, show us the map.
We're going to tune
Bob
in
and
to see the
Kenny
map.
and Jaron and Antonio and all you guys, Kirk, and show us the map.
They brought in 30 experts to help put it all
And be proud
together.
of it, show it with gusto, because, Tammy's supposed to have been working on it for a whole year, but quietly to the side. I can't imagine if it's right, how far we could have advanced all this time if she would have put some of it out there somewhere along the way. But, instead we've been, sticking with the flat earth map all this time. So
but it's just a point of reference, Laurie. It's not. They don't really think it's the map.
We know it's got problems. We've always admitted it's got problems. Well, what did you ever bother to check out the problems? Did you ever investigate the problems, or did you just hide your head in the sand and ignore the problems, like the fact that you can't fly from Santiago to Chile or to Sydney in however many hours, 15 hours it would take, I don't know. And those were some of the very first problems. I mean, the problems with the AE map were put out there from day one. I mean, I remember trying to argue these points myself as a flat earther and, a new flat earther. And it was like, well, I got to learn this so that I can, rebut this to the Globers who challenge me when I start talking about it. And I never could, other than to say, well, we got some problems with that. Maybe the continents aren't quite laid out the way it is, but, it's all circling and stuff. So now apparently it's going to still be circling. And I can't imagine how that's going to sell in Peoria. That's an old saying, by the way.
Yeah, well, they didn't put any time scale on it, did they? They had the show last week and said, well, we haven't got the map this week. We've got the map, but we could show it to you, but we're not going to.
Well, and then Antonio spending 10 minutes talking about it's so hard to understand that all you cretins out there won't be able to get that. And so we really have to be careful about how we explain it, because, if we don't explain it right, you won't get it. And I mean, we've been able to get everything else, haven't we? I mean, are you just going to, insinuate that flat earthers are stupid and have low IQs and can't think for themselves and understand? Because that's basically what you said. And, that's a problem, I think. I don't remember that we've called people stupid to the point where, we've said they're cretins, but I mean, you're supposed to be talking to your own community, unless you were talking to Globers. And if you were talking to Globers, then what are you worried about explaining it to them for? Oh, yeah, wait, there was the part about we want to explain it so that professionals are going to want to help us. But to give us information and help us make this, map more professional and more correct. Well, what exactly who are you talking about? What professionals? Professional what? I mean, suits? He even mentioned people from NASA, maybe? Like people from NASA are going to help flat earthers professionally design the new map and model and come and help us? What planet was he born on? So sorry. I'm sorry, that might have been a little bitchy and bitter. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm
But
sorry for being so boring. We'll try and
yeah,
be more
well,
interesting in future.
okay. So, so next week we're going to have Ronnie is welcome to come back and join us again. He could very well become a regular on the show, and I would enjoy that because he brings some interesting ideas and he's good for a laugh. And and we've got a couple other people who have were unable to be on the show tonight, and but they have said they're going to come on next week. And I'm hoping that one of them is, if you're listening, uh, what is that long name? The guy.
The
The
truth
truth
is
is stranger than fiction.
Truth is stranger than fiction. Okay, him and Bruce Robinson has agreed to come on the show, and I've been talking with Bruce for about a year, and about flat Earth, and he has some really good ideas that, and he doesn't care whether you like them or not. He just wants to talk about them, so that's kind of cool because I like people that don't need approval from anyone. So. Closing ideas, closing thoughts, anyone? 'Cause we're running out of time.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to take a look at the comments on the video afterwards and see if the haters are out in force, and because we're big time haters now because we're dividing the community. So.
Well, we're actually not, but we're actually trying to bring the community together on not being suckers for a wrong map. But if the haters want to come out, that's okay. And if you hate too much, you'll just be removed. So it's no big thing. Keep it nice or be gone. Ronnie, you have any closing ideas or thoughts?
Yeah, it's really nice to be here. I used to enjoy going on many different shows, but it feels like I've been stifled in many ways. And the thing about you two that have always been great is that you're open to any of the ramblings that I might partake in, which is rare. And I guess make sure the truth you're standing on is a secure foundation, because if you're peddling mumbo jumbo, you're going to sink in the sand. And I'm just really, really lucky to be a part of this world and this time. I'm just thank you. So thank you.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thank you. And we do a bit of rambling ourselves, so it's okay to have another rambler along for the ride. So with that, good night, everybody, and thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. And this will go up on a podcast by hopefully in the morning, and we'll hopefully see you next week. And stay flat and stay happy. Thanks. Good night.
Folks.
Peace.